Austria, 11 billion. Italy, 40 billion. Sweden, 9 billion. Germany, 80 billion. So we're getting hosed across the board. And everybody knows that. But some people don't care. Then there's national defense. Americans spend $820 billion a year on the military. That's all taxpayer money. And it protects the EU. But over in Europe, Belgium spends 2% on its military. And Donald Trump wants 5% minimum from all European nations. Does that seem unreasonable to you? Back after this. Bill O'Reilly here. If you are stuck in a timeshare you no longer want, my friends at Lone Star Transfer can assist. Over the past 15 years, the family-owned company has helped more than 30,000 owners break free from their timeshares. They'll provide a guaranteed solution to exit your timeshare. So please call Lone Star Transfer 833-594-0079 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. For more news and honest analysis, please go to BillO'Reilly.com. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Spotty showers and a few thunderstorms around the St. Louis metro area today, but steadier and heavier rain is more likely to the south. Humidity continues to hang fairly high today, up to 84 this afternoon. Light wind out of the south and southeast. Partly cloudy overnight, looking mainly dry, down to 71. Tuesday looks toasty. Partly cloudy with a high of 91, a muggy one. Storms likely Wednesday, and some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, what do you make of those protests that happened over the weekend? Let me know. I'm already watching the Rumble chat box, or send me a note in the Facebook comments, or you know what? We'll open up the phone lines here in a little bit, 314-912-1019, and kind of see where we go from here. Hey, good morning. Hope you had a fantastic weekend and Father's Day for all of you dads out there. We had one of the more unusual conversations we've ever had on the show on Friday. Our very own Chris Arps, of course, co-host of the afternoon show here on News Talk STL. He and his wife, Becky, are in Israel. And he was among those. They were among those rushed into bomb shelters when Israel hit Iran's military targets. And then Iran tried to send drones and bombs back over to Israel. Chris and Becky had to be taken to safety along with a lot of other people. And so we got his experience of that firsthand on Friday's show. And you know what? It's worth hearing again. Here it is. First and foremost, we thank God that you and Becky are safe.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. I can't wait to tell you about this experience. Every American deals with something like this.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go through kind of the cold, hard facts, and then I want to get into the human element of this. Where were you and what happened when all of this went down? Because my understanding is you and Becky's, day and probably the rest of your schedule got turned completely upside down.
Yeah, it did. We were scheduled to go to Bethlehem today, do some more sightseeing, but the nation is on lockdown, basically, and everyone is sheltering in place. The U.S. Embassy has told their people not to go anywhere, to stay there. So it's been a harrowing experience, but, being in a war zone where we are, it's very safe, Mike. It's about 85 degrees here, very, very sunny. I'm not hearing bombs. I'm not hearing any explosions going off or anything. It's just a nervousness among people that aren't Israelis here in the hotel. But the Israeli people, they're used to this. They're very resilient, and they're going to carry on and carry forth like they've been for decades now dealing with this threat.
Good morning, Chris. Gabe here. So it sounds like the Israelis are just kind of going about their business. That's the impression I'm getting from you now. So how are you doing though? I mean, because I put myself in your position. If I'm out there with Janet and we're just trying to enjoy a little time looking around in the Holy Land and whatnot, and all of a sudden I'm woken up at 3 a.m. and they tell me to get into a bomb shelter. What is that experience like?
Well, I got to tell you, every Israeli here, they have an app that you download, and it will give you alerts when missiles and things are coming. It even gives you the flight path of the missile, so they are used to that. Becky and I, we were asleep. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. Becky had downloaded the app. It wasn't the World War II sounding kind of air siren that you would expect. It was just like outside, there was nothing. We just got the alert on our phone. And we were like, is that the bomb alert? Should we get up? What should we do? When those alerts go off, you have about a minute and a half to get to a bomb shelter before the drones or the missiles hit you. You guys would have been laughing your head off at us because we're getting up. We're trying to find our clothes, put on this and everything. We probably got out of the hotel room about 3 minutes. 3 or 4 minutes after the alarm went off. If it would have been a serious emergency, we probably wouldn't have made it. But I feel calm. I feel safe. Our main concern is how do we leave Israel? The airport is completely closed. The flights aren't coming in and out of Jordan, Egypt. Those are the two places that you go when there is a situation like this. So we're sitting around and just waiting to see what happens. We are guarded by two security agents who have a 9mm and a long gun. So I feel very, very safe. Not to go on and on. The only time that I have really felt threatened here was yesterday when we were visiting the old city in Jerusalem, and it's divided between the Christians, the Muslims, and the Armenians. And as we were going through the Muslim quarter, I lost my head. I was walking through, and one of the merchants said, "Where are you from?" And, I proudly said, "The United States." And he turned his head and he went, and just groaned. And that made me a little nervous, being an American there in the Muslim quarter. You think everyone loves Americans. Hey, we're good people. But that was the first time I've really seen someone dislike me or hate me because I was an American.
Yeah. Chris, you and I have known each other, 15 years, something like that?
Yes.
I was at your wedding, and I very, very few men, I'm just going to get real here, are as devoted to their wife as you are to Becky. And she thinks you're okay as well. I can't imagine looking at your wife when those sirens are going on and saying, I have to get her to safety because we don't know what's about to happen. What's going through your heart? What's going through your mind when that happens? I mean, I'm sure it probably was the comedy of errors with an American,
Sure.
Hearing the siren and we don't know what to do. We're probably falling over each other. But what's going through your mind and your heart and your soul when that strikes, and then the reality sets in once you wake up that, oh my God, there could be bombs heading at us right now?
As you said, when you love your wife or you love your spouse, they mean absolutely everything to you. You will give up your life for them. You'll do anything for them. And that was just kind of thoughts that went through my mind is I have to get Becky down to this shelter. We need to get down here. She needs to be safe. I need to protect her. I gave marriage vows. I said through life and through death, and then I will gladly give up my life for her if that is necessary. As I said, it's not a threatening situation right now. If you were here in our hotel and you saw this, you'd never know what happened last night. I mean, it's calm. There's hardly nobody here at the hotel, as you can imagine, but it seems like just a normal day. Haven't heard any explosions, nothing. No jet fighters overhead. It's just a normal day. But as we know, it certainly is not.
Producer Jerome speaking now with the great Chris Arps. So I do have people that I care about that have family and friends that are in Israel right now that are Israeli nationals. And I know last night at some point, Iran tried to retaliate with a drone strike. And fortunately, all of that was intercepted. But for those that are out there that have loved ones that are in Israel right now that might be panicking or might not be certain about the safety, it sounds like you're saying that the situation is not chaos and dire. It sounds like things are relatively under control and that you feel relaxed. But do you have any words from being in the ground right now that could maybe potentially calm them a little bit?
Well, as I said, the Israeli people, they're strong, resilient people. They are used to this, unfortunately, having their lives threatened by Iran and these terrorist groups. This is pretty much par for the course for them. The Iron Dome system worked very well last night. I think they sent 100 drones towards Israel. I believe that the majority of them were shot down. Our tour guide, he is a major in the Israeli army. And so that is something else that has made us even more comfortable. Plus, we're here, the tour that we're on, it's an organization called Heroes to Heroes. And it's an organization that deals with soldiers that fought in Iraq that had to unfortunately take the life of a child or a woman that was wearing a suicide vest. And so part of the 12-step program for Heroes to Heroes, and it lasts a year, is they come to Israel. And it has totally transformed lives, walking in the footsteps of Jesus. They have been restored. So it's unfortunate that on a trip like that we have to experience something like that. And part of the reason that we're here with these veterans, that's one of the things that makes me feel safe, being in a hotel with 25 to 30 combat veterans.
Chris, whether it's observing these veterans you just mentioned or observing the Israeli people who live basically under this threat every day of their lives, you say it's a normal day there. That would not be a normal day in the United States, but it's a normal day there. Is there anything that you and Becky have learned or different perspectives that you're now going to be incorporating into how you look at whether it's world events or world politics or cultural stuff? I mean, what are you bringing back from this experience?
Well, besides the obvious spiritual aspect of going through the Via Dolorosa, seeing the tomb where Jesus was laid, seeing Golgotha, that part is something that will stay with me forever. But this experience of being in a war zone, it really gives you the true perspective of what Jews are facing around the world and what they have faced for thousands of years. They are hated just because they are Jews. They accept that, and it has made them strong and resilient. And it's part of the reason why they are such a prosperous people, because they know they need to depend on themselves if they're ever to survive in a hostile neighborhood, as they call it.
All right. Our own Chris Arps in Israel right now. We don't know what your schedule is going to look like, but really appreciate you, man. I want you to be safe. And I know Jerome's got another quick question for you.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, so Allison, Kathleen, I'm sure many of our audience and then us, especially in the studio, are all praying for a safe return for you. Yep. So we hope they stay safe and, make it home safe. Okay. Godspeed.
I really appreciate that. And if I could say just one thing, I want to thank all of the folks, people, our listeners that texted me, praying for Becky and I. And I want to tell you this too. People were sending us updates of what was going on in this conflict. And we were learning more through people texting me updates than I was learning trying to watch TV on my phone. Becky and I go to hotels. We never turn the TV on. And if we did here, it's going to be in Hebrew, so we're not going to understand what's going on. Right. So your text messages with news updates and everything was very, very helpful for us.
All right, Chris, we will talk to you. You will talk to you again soon, man. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, a lot of ground to cover here, including our conversation with Congressman Bob Onder coming up at 7:35. We'll get his reaction and what he thinks the U.S. should do, if anything, in that situation in Iran, between Iran and Israel. That's all coming your way still ahead here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Experience the true flavors of Mexico at Dos Primos, O'Fallon's premier Mexican restaurant. From sizzling fajitas to homemade caldo de pollo, every dish is crafted with the freshest ingredients and traditional recipes, all made fresh daily in our kitchen. Cool down with our famous margaritas or your favorite cerveza, while our friendly staff makes you feel like family. Dine in or carry out. Visit DosPrimosMexicanRestaurant.com or find us on North Main in O'Fallon.
Spring is in the air, and so are the savings at Johnson Heating and Cooling. From March 15th to June 15th, enjoy ultimate home comfort and incredible deals. Get up to $1,000 in rebates, plus 0 down and 0% financing. Johnson Heating and Cooling, keeping Winsville homes comfortable and wallets happy. Offers valid March 15th through June 15th. Some restrictions may apply. Call Johnson Heating and Cooling, 636-332-4141, or visit johnson-heatingandcooling.com.
Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors. Experience the passion. Oh, yeah. You can go in and see the best variety, the best pricing, the best quality, the best personalized service right there off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or you can have the store come to you. Oh, yeah. Brian and his team take great pride in running a fantastic flooring outlet, and you can get their 5-star ratings right there on Google. Just check it out. It's O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, and making the left's voice heard or much ado about nothing. I want to get everybody's take on the No Kings protest that happened around here, around the country as well. You know, from what I can tell, the kind of loonies here, because that's what I think their perspective is, looks like they generally behave themselves, at least here in the St. Louis area. Not so much in other parts of the country, but around here, they didn't really cause too much in the way of trouble.
Yeah, it was really actually pretty quiet, all things considered. Now, if you were in an area where there was some activity going on, if you have the NewsTalkSTL app, not only can you listen to our amazing voices, but there is a feature that allows you to leave us a voicemail. So you can make a comment saying, well, in my area, it was absolutely chaotic, or it was just more of a burden on traffic that day.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So thousands were part of the No Kings protest around the St. Louis area on Saturday. The biggest one was that one downtown. There was one, I think, in the Central West End. I'm sure there was a lot of overlap on it. There were others around the county area, 1 or 2 on the Illinois side, but really this was targeted on the Missouri side because they're targeting red state areas, even though they tended to have the biggest turnout in the blue dots in the state as well. So we're going to go into more depth on this at 6:20. I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. So start loading them up, have that coffee, get those going. But for the most part, there really weren't any big issues. I mean, we were bracing ourselves here. We were advising people, listen, don't engage, counter protests just aren't good. And I think people generally just kind of ignored them is what I think happened. But to be fair, there were some really big turnouts around Missouri and also in Illinois. Generally, it was all in Chicago. There wasn't really a whole lot around here on the Illinois side. But for the most part, they seem to have behaved themselves. When I looked at all of, for instance, the TV station's news pages, the No Kings protest had been pushed off the front page on every single one of them.
Wow.
Replaced by all the other stuff that's going on. So I'm not going to say it was a non-event, but I don't know if that means they were incredibly successful or if it was a flop. And I'm trying to not project my own opinion of their message into it because the one downtown was a pretty big protest, but they did march and they did block off some streets. The police department basically enabled them to do that. Nobody was arrested. There were no fights. There were no confrontations. There was nothing like that. So everything was nonviolent. And that was the big thing. The police department through social media kept being asked, did they have a permit for this? Or are you just letting them shut down the streets? They would never answer that, which probably means they did not go get a permit for a march and they just took over the streets and police just allowed it to happen and frankly helped them do that by blocking off. Basically, they were going to go this way. Okay, we're going to block off the streets and keep people from driving through and all that sort of thing. So in that sense, by my definition, that's not 100% peaceful, but it's absolutely nonviolent. And honestly, at that time on the weekends, nobody's downtown anyway. So I don't think it was a big issue, even though I just got that factor about letting leftists just take over streets.
See, on principle, I would agree because I've seen firsthand what happens with that sort of behavior. However, given the fact that it remained non-destructive, and it remained non-violent, I would say that was definitely the right call to have made, because sometimes all it takes is you trying to stop that, and then next thing you know, it's a whole full-on
because
confrontation.
the police are outnumbered. I mean, they're defunded for the most part anyway in St. Louis. So it's not like they have a lot of officers to get out there, and it was all done by Saturday evening. I mean, it was like done. I mean, Sunday you had the football game at the Dome, and there was nothing impeding anybody to get there. I mean, dozens of people were at the Dome for that game.
Entire dozens.
Not dozens of people were there to watch the UFL championship game. They didn't, there just wasn't any issue. I mean, I went downtown yesterday to go pick up my daughter, because we did a little dad-daughter thing for Father's Day. And it was basically the same ghost town it always is on weekends. If the Cardinals are not in the town, it's just the ghost town during the day. I got out of there before things started getting dark. But there was no indication that whatsoever that anything had happened the day before.
Yeah, compared to what we were seeing across many other parts of the country. I mean, there's definitely, we kind of looked out in some ways, but I know delivery drivers, and they were specifically told, if you ever don't feel safe in a situation, we cannot force you to deliver pizzas or deliver food. And they all said, no, we made our deliveries. We were actually surprised, because we thought it would be all crowded, and nothing.
I mean, I was around a few areas, over the weekend, and I knew where to not go, but I didn't see anything. I mean, I saw, when I drove by, like I went on 64 into Belleville, because we tried to play a baseball game on Saturday. It got rained out, but I was expecting to maybe see people walking over the overpasses or nothing. I saw absolutely nothing. So, you know what? In that sense, good on you, leftist loonies. That's your First Amendment right. You stayed peaceful. You didn't block streets. You know what? Hey, more power to you in having your say, even if I disagree with what you say. So, you know what? Way to buck the trend there, buck the narrative. Now, other parts of the country, there was one woman killed in Utah. Looks like straight gunfire. Somebody started shooting at somebody, and a bystander got killed. Somebody drove into one of the protests in Virginia, and I'm not sure what that's all about. And the riots continue in California. So there was violence at the No Kings, just not here.
And just to add a little bit of context, I'm sure you're going to get more into it later, but from everything we could tell, it was not a police officer that killed a random bystander. No. Because I've seen, I believe it was ABC News and a couple other organizations are saying innocent bystander, killed, but they're leaving out that key context and trying to frame it in a way that makes it seem like the cops did something.
No. There's absolutely. All right. Former Speaker of the House and her husband are assassinated, apparently over politics in Minnesota. And I'm using the word assassinated on purpose. There's some people say, well, what's the difference between just murder and assassinated? Well, assassinated is generally for some kind of purpose, as opposed to I have a beef with somebody or something got out of hand. The former speaker and her husband murdered. It looks like everybody agrees it was over politics. And then a state senator and his wife, all of these are Democrats, by the way, who were shot. And they survived an assassination attempt by the same murderer. I've got more details on this in the news dump here in just a few minutes. The police have caught the suspect. So we're going to ask some of the questions, and we're going to talk to our Tim Jones, because Tim, having been a speaker, I don't think people realize how much people hate you, whether you're Republican or Democrat, and things are escalating in a big way. We don't know much about this guy or his motives. Clearly, he's a lunatic. But I've heard people rush in and say, look at this. This is a MAGA Trump guy because, he was going after the Democrats. Others say, no, he was a left winger because, he was going. So the bottom line is that everybody has jumped in to try to create a narrative before we have all the facts. I'm not going to participate in that because we don't have all the facts, but we can look at this and go, wait a minute. We have had instant after instant after instant of violence over politics. We've had violence over politics in this country for hundreds of years.
Well, that's what our country was founded on, basically.
Right. And so, but we are seeing a spike now domestically on this. So we also have to say, let's look at the whole picture. And I think Tim can help us do that because this should not be a Republican or Democrat thing. At some point we go, whoa. This is not who and what we are. Left, you don't get to make us this. Those of on the right, be careful. We're not going to make us this. So I think we need to collectively step back and go, let's reevaluate all of us, including ourselves. And that may mean asking some tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start doing that. But again, I've got the news dump and some more details on this. So far, elected officials have not made this into a partisan thing. Something to do with the issues and we don't know yet. On one hand, we hear the guy is a big MAGA Trump guy. Other people are like, no, he was an Antifa guy. So we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is 2 elected officials were shot over politics, and their spouses were shot over politics. So can we have disdain for political differences, ideological differences? Can we even dislike each other over those things and still maintain limits and boundaries somewhere? And that requires all of us probably to grow up a little bit. Can we do that in 2025? I don't know the answer, but I really want to know what you think. So 314-912-1019, or as always, send us the messages on all the different platforms that we've got there. All right, let's get going with that news dump. We're going to do that right around 6:04 here on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You and I might have something in common, back pain. I can tell you where I go for help, Esquire Sports Medicine, the spine of St. Louis. They can put athletes back on the field so they can clearly help us. Esquire Sports Medicine, hands-on chiropractic help on Big Bend, just north of Highway 40, 314-644-0885, EsquireSportsMedicine.com, EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
When you've got something to say, be heard loud and clear.
If they'll just do what they were voted in to do.
This party needs to get a backbone. They need to get some spine.
Join the conversation. St. Louis's place to talk.
The Democrats and the Republicans can give us all the lip service they want, but what they need to do is take action today.
1019 and 94.1.
You have to take a stand sometimes.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The 57-year-old man wanted in last week's shootings of 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses is under arrest. One of the lawmakers and her husband were killed. The suspect, Vance Bolter, arrested last evening.
Multiple agencies were there as FBI laid hands on it and Minnesota State Patrol put the handcuffs on.
Governor Tim Walz says Bolter was arrested in rural Sibley County, southwest of Minneapolis. Former Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were killed in their Brooklyn Park home early Saturday. Senator John Hoffman, also a Democrat, and his wife Yvette were injured at their home about 9 miles away. They are expected to recover. Iran launched a new wave of missile attacks on Israel early today, killing at least 5 people. Israel, meanwhile, claims to have achieved aerial superiority over Tehran and can fly over the Iranian capital without facing any major threats. The ongoing conflict between the two countries will be high on the agenda of the G7 summit in Alberta, Canada.
I think the G7 is going to be tested because there is a war between sworn enemies who see their side of the argument as existential. The question, of course, will be Not can the Europeans come up with a united position to try and put some, influence on the conflict. The key question will be, can the Europeans and the other leaders that are here put some pressure or encourage or shape some of the thinking in Donald Trump? He is the only person who has potential influence and leverage over the Israelis.
And the BBC's James Landale says Mr. Trump is now in Alberta for the summit. The president directing ICE to expand the deportation of illegal aliens in America's largest cities including the blue bastions of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures up 152 points, NASDAQ futures ahead 110. More on these stories at townhall.com.
For centuries, gold and silver have protected wealth through war, recession, inflation, and economic upheaval. At Advantage Gold, we specialize in helping you move your IRA or eligible 401k into physical gold or silver, tax-free and penalty-free. When you call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000, for a limited time, you could receive up to $10,000 in precious metals when you open your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Spotty showers and a few thunderstorms around the St. Louis metro area today, but steadier and heavier rain is more likely to the south. Humidity continues to hang fairly high today, up to 84 this afternoon. Light wind out of the south and southeast. Partly cloudy overnight, looking mainly dry, down to 71. Tuesday looks toasty. Partly cloudy with a high of 91, a muggy one. Storms likely Wednesday, and some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Springtime often means storms. Don't let a fallen tree ruin your day. Call Hanson's Tree. Look them up at hansonstree.com. Hanson's, your expert insured tree care specialist in the St. Louis region and well beyond. In addition to taking care of all the messes, they can take care of beautiful things as well. Organic mulch, tree trimming, grinding, and land clearing, green waste recycling. Let the expert arborist at Hanson's take care of all the tree care for your home or business. 24/7 at hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Wow, you're really pumped about this.
Gabe Phifer.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
The best answer to the toxicity of the left is the truth.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, were the No Kings protests around here peaceful and successful, or were they kind of a flop? And that's an honest question here, not just because whether we agree or disagree. Let's talk about that. Does President Trump now support some illegal aliens? He's really sending mixed messages here. I guess it depends on which businesses hire them illegally. Yeah, my take may not be real popular.
Oh boy,
but I'm going to give it anyway. And the Cardinals are falling behind in the race for the Central Division after a pretty rough weekend. It is 6:06 right now. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, downtown St. Louis was not trashed by the No Kings protesters over the weekend. It actually looked that way before the protest happened. Normally, this is where I'm supposed to go, I'm sorry. I'm not.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Multiple protests against Donald Trump took place around the area on Saturday, as we were talking about last week. That included a really large one and a march downtown. Every estimate is that over 1,000 people showed up to participate in that. So that was a big one. So thousands participated throughout the metro area in these protests. It appears that they were all peaceful and there were no arrests reported in our area. So I haven't heard of a single problem. No roads being blocked other than the marches through the streets downtown, which the police kind of enabled, but nobody was downtown anyway.
Yeah.
There were violent incidents and at least one death related to the No Kings events in other parts of the country. But around here, it seems that everything pretty much went off without a hitch. People with whom we disagree had their say. They had their signs. They hate Donald Trump. They don't like, they like illegal aliens. They had their say. They had their First Amendment rights upheld.
Mm-hmm.
They got to do what they wanted to do, and they didn't cause any problems for anybody else. I got no issue with that.
All right, we'll take the win in comparison to California, right?
Yeah, but it was funny because nobody's. I mean, we're going to talk about it around 6:20. I'm going to at least do the follow up because we built. But after that, it's like, was it? To us, it was kind of a non-event.
Yeah.
But if you're on the left, was this a big success?
Right. That's a good question. Now, and the other part of it is, we advise people basically just to stay away.
Right.
Don't engage.
Yep.
We don't even need the counter protest. Just let it die in darkness. And that's kind of where. So should we take the win?
Well, maybe. That's what the governor said. That's what the attorney general, when he was on with us, they were all like, listen, just the counter protest or counterproductive this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like around here, cooler heads kind of prevailed on both sides.
Nice.
So you take like I said, take the win.
We'll take the win.
So we'll go into more depth on that because I'm going to ask the question: was the left actually successful on this? So we'll do that around 6:20.
Okay, yeah,
so we'll do that. All right. Police in Minnesota arrested Vance Belter late last night, and they've charged him with the murders. I'm going to go ahead and say the assassination of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark Hortman at their home early Saturday morning. Governor Tim Walz praises law enforcement agents of their handling of the arrest.
To take this suspect in with no life or injuries to civilian population and to bring him in alive so he can serve justice, which he will do in Minnesota, is an incredible thing that we are grateful for.
Okay, so Belter is also charged with the attempted murder of Minnesota Democratic State Senator John Hoffman, the representative that he is accused of murdering, also a Democrat, and State Senator John Hoffman's wife, Yvette. They were both injured and they were shot, but they will survive. They've got to recover, but he tried to take their lives as well. We've got Eric Schmidt was asked about this. He was on Fox News Live yesterday. And of course, on that attacker's apparent hit list, Governor Tim Walz, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar are among those that are reported to be on his hit list. So was he a Republican or a conservative targeting Democrats? Other reports say that he had No Kings protest materials. We just don't know what this lunatic's motivations were, other than it was definitely political.
Yeah.
Eric Schmidt was asked about that on Fox News, and here's what he had to say.
Our founders set up the First Amendment to create this space where we would resolve our differences through debate, through elections, not through political assassination. So it's a very, very dangerous road to go down. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us, Republican and Democrat, to speak out against political violence, no matter if it's a Republican or Democrat that's targeted.
Police say the suspect impersonated a police officer and even drove a fake police car to gain access to his victims.
So this is very well planned out and everything like that. So, well, the thing is, we treat this lunatic the same way we treat every other, political violence lunatic, just, throw them under the jail.
Yeah, precisely.
Right.
Yep. All right. Is the president selling out on the issue of illegal immigration?
I saw some information about this. I'm very curious as to what exactly is happening.
Right.
I'd never trust the initial reporting on these things. So let's get into it.
Or maybe just a little here. President Trump is halting illegal alien arrests at farms, restaurants, and hotels.
Don't like it.
Here's the story.
Admitting that his administration's immigration crackdown is hurting farmers and the hospitality business, the president directed immigration officers to stop arresting some undocumented residents.
We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
He said many of those people are great workers, even though they're not citizens. It's a change of tone for the president, who has promised the largest deportation operation in American history. Greg Clugston, Washington.
So some illegals are okay, but others aren't.
This is exactly what we did not want out of the Republican administration. I remember back in the day, it was I guess it was the 90s, where the protection of the illegal racket was seen as a Republican issue because it was a protection of businesses who wanted to underpay and basically exploit workers, right? And Democrats were the ones who were calling for crackdowns. Now they weren't cracking down on the border necessarily, but they wanted to crack down on businesses who knowingly hired illegals. I agreed with that.
Yeah,
I agreed with that back then, and I still agree with it now. Now the some of the politics has flipped now because I think the Democrats realized they could farm these people for political power, and Republicans maybe woke up to the reality that it's destroying us, even if it's quote unquote helping businesses. But Donald Trump's going back on his word here, and I am not on board.
At the same time, he's ordered ICE and Homeland Security to double down on other raids for illegal aliens, particularly in the areas where there's a lot of protest in California, the big blue cities. So
which is it?
Which is it? I mean, and so this is a credibility issue for the president. So we're going to get into that probably closer more to the 7 o'clock hour. But I'm with you. I'm like, wait a minute. Either illegal aliens are bad and need to be found and deported or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter where they are.
It's a rule of law issue.
Yeah. And it's a consistency issue. It is an ethical issue. It is a credibility issue. And right now, I think Donald Trump, in an unforced error, is giving some of that away. And so I think that, and again, there's a lot of stuff he's doing right, but when he was raiding, all I saw all over like MAGA social media was, this is what I voted for.
Yes.
Is this what you voted for?
No.
Okay. We're going to talk about that in more depth here. All right. That thing with Senator Alex Padilla getting kind of thrown to the ground and handcuffed when he rushed towards Kristi Noem at that press conference.
Yeah, because he's being a douchebag.
Yeah, because he's now, it turns out the other douchebag in the U.S. Senate from California, Adam Schiff, still is giving stupid takes on this.
Okay.
So he was on NBC's Meet the Press, and he decided he wants to criticize how the Secret Service handled that incident.
To be treated that way and to be responded to by saying, oh, we didn't know who you are, when it was literally written on his shirt or his jacket when he's proclaiming who he is. I don't buy it.
Okay, so here's the thing. That would be maybe effective in your argument there, Senator, if we didn't have the entire video and saw him getting physical and trying to rush the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
If we didn't see the whole context, dummy.
Right, exactly. And here's the thing. I my understanding is you're as a member of the Senate, or you're there's an identification pin.
It's called a hard pin.
The hard pin that you're supposed to wear.
He did not have.
And he did not. That's the thing that you would be looking for if you wanted to identify. So if some dude just has a shirt that says "I am U.S. Senator,"
right.
It's like, does it matter?
No. And even if he had it, he's still physically trying to rush.
He's rushing the stage, essentially.
Yeah, somebody who's in the presidential line of succession.
Right. So I'm not looking at your shirt when you're basically making aggressive moves towards the person that I'm protecting. I'm looking at your body language, and I'm trying to get control of you.
He wanted the wrestling
match. Wanted the wrestling match, and he got it. Now, Fafo.
And I think most of the country is like, yeah, dude, this ain't it. This
ain't
it.
Chief. This ain't it,
Chief.
I'm not even sure most Democrats are even good. They're just kind of leaving it alone. They're not commenting. They're just kind of leaving it alone.
Yeah, the Democrats are like, well, let's not throw our guy under the bus, but that was kind of stupid. Dumb. All right, Cardinals lost ground during their series with the Brewers over the weekend. Milwaukee took 3 of the 4 games. Yikes.
Ouch.
That pushed the Redbirds back to 3rd place in the division. They're now 7 games behind the first place Cubs. Cardinals have a day off today. They start a series in Chicago against the White Sox tomorrow.
There's no more than all at once depart, no destination, making cold my heart to fight your
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
What was once considered radical is now mainstream.
On News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all. With all of the celebrations, anniversaries, and holidays coming up over the next few months, where are you going to go to get that special something for the special people in your life? Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, of course. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, found 24/7 at wowdiamonds.com. Tim Jones here to tell you all about Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Richard Newsteader and his team serving our region since 1961 with awesome, honest jewelry solutions. They've got everything from diamonds to wedding engagement rings, hand-engraved items, pendants, earrings, and so much more. You can find them 24/7, wowdiamonds.com. That's Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here, host of Shall Not Be Infringed, Sunday nights at 9. But now it's more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, they had their say. This is an honest question.
Yeah.
And especially those of you on the left, I would love to have a polite conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that seriously. What was accomplished with the No Kings protest, specifically around the St. Louis area, but around the country as well? Let's talk about that.
Right. And then international affairs, Israel says stopping their enemy from developing the means to wipe them off the map is defensive and not necessarily offensive. So where do we, including the U.S., go from here? We've got that update for you at 6:35.
Touchy stuff.
Yep.
Without a doubt. All right. It is 6:19 right now. All right. No Kings. Listen, Gabe, I think it worked. I think it was successful. I think it worked.
What do you mean by it worked, Mike?
Okay.
Come on. What did they accomplish?
Saturday the 14th. What was the whole premise? What was the name of the protest?
No Kings.
No Kings.
Right.
Okay. It is Monday, June 16th. Do we have a king right now? No, we do not.
Okay. I mean,
and this is politics, so we take causation and correlation and we mix them all up. So therefore,
I guess it works.
They win.
Jeez. All right. Yeah, I guess we have no kings for currently.
We have no kings.
We have no kings.
They were successful.
They won. All right. Now, on a real note,
yes,
we discussed, just kind of the violence, right? Because we saw what was coming out of California. They said we're taking it national, baby, and they wanted to bring that bullcrap to everywhere, every community in America.
I think that's what the organizer. I think that's really what they wanted.
That's what they wanted. Yeah. They wanted Californication across the entire country. So. We heard about these things coming to our local area, and we said, hey, guys, we don't need to publicize. We don't need to help them publicize it by getting in their faces, by, trying to drive through an area we know might be clogged up, trying to counter protests or anything like that. We said, just let them have their say, let them throw their tantrum. Ignore them because they're going out there for attention. They want those clicks.
Well, that's what protests are supposed to do.
They want the videos. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what protests on the right when they're designed to attract attention.
That's true. All protests are intended for attention, but of course they wanted to do so by throwing hands and Molotovs and the like, and they would need a target to do that.
Yeah,
and that would be us. So we said, stay away. Just go elsewhere. It's not like you need too many incentives not to go downtown anyway. But but you know what I'm saying. And so we here, and I think
there were like 10 or 12 protests in the St. Louis area.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
There were a lot of them.
They were spread around, but I think just we on the right, just collectively, it feels like we all just said, you know what, just let them go about their business. We're just gonna leave them alone, and this is just gonna go like a fart in the wind.
Right. Okay. So here's my question, and everybody kind of jump ball, guys, for whoever wants to jump here. First of all, my take is they exercised their First Amendment rights.
Okay.
They protested against the president and against the government, which they've got a right to do.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed nonviolent. 90% of it was peaceful. Now downtown,
peaceful-ish.
Yeah, downtown, when you take over streets, that's nonviolent, but it was, the police allowed it to happen. They kind of worked hand in hand, and they did their march, but there was no violence.
Right.
So, I've got a conceptual, kind of overall ethical problem with that. But the reality is that it was nonviolent, and everybody had their say. Nobody was hurt. Nobody's rights were violated. No streets were blocked off other than the downtown stuff, which again, nobody was there anyway. And so overall, to those on the left and who were participating, you did it the right way.
Okay.
You know what? You had your say.
Good job.
You get to speak up. You stayed nonviolent. You didn't violate anybody else's rights. That's all we can ask.
Good for you not being a violent monster.
Right. I mean, listen, we'll pat you on the head on that. I disagree with what you were saying. But you know what? You got a right to say it, and I defend your right to do it.
Sure.
So that was not what we were bracing for violence. We were bracing because, but the reality is it didn't happen. So you give credit where credit is due.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the other question. Okay, we've agreed on that. No issue with what happened. What was accomplished? And I mean that seriously. I mean, what if you were involved,
if you were on the left,
right,
from their position,
right? What did you accomplish?
Okay.
I mean, it's like, when I see, even like, people on the overpass of the, during the election season had Trump MAGA stuff. I said on the air, I'm like, I don't know what you accomplished with it, but you've got a right to do it.
Yeah. Trump was going to win Missouri by many, many points.
Yeah. So, I mean, but okay, you had your say. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's what you're, that's what we respect your right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you're on the left, what's the win? I mean, what did you accomplish? I mean, I'm asking that honestly. I'm not, that's not a condescending question. I'm truly, what did you actually accomplish? I would love to know what the answers are, guys. I mean, jump ball. I mean, what do you think?
Now, the only thing I can do is guess as to what they would answer, because I've kind of seen this question posed in numerous areas, particularly about the protest culture that exists on the left,
right.
Because I always ask that question too. What are these things for? What are you trying to get to?
Yeah.
And for the most part, what I've heard is essentially twofold. Is one, to draw attention to the growing issue.
Sure.
And that's one of these kind of esoteric ideas.
And historically, that has worked at times.
At times, yes. Now, of course,
the march over the Selma Bridge that absolutely was effective.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, and I've made the comparisons because they keep comparing themselves to the civil rights movement of the 60s. And I said, all right, let's make an honest comparison. And it usually doesn't match up. And historical context is a major aspect of that too.
Yeah.
Because, back in the day, there were a lot of white folks who never saw a black person, like ever. They never had to interact with them. They never did. So they didn't realize what the deal was until somebody pointed it out to them and they saw it on TV. It's not like they had a Twitter where people were live tweeting, getting, curb stomped and thrown out of a diner someplace. Right. So understandably, a protest was required at that time to bring light to a particular situation to the nation at large. And there was a particular goal, a legislative goal.
Right.
And all the people who were made aware of the issue, they said, okay, I'm on board with the legislative goal. Modern protests have never had that. As far as I could tell, they've never had a definitive legislative goal, except maybe the abortion stuff, the gay marriage stuff. Yeah, right. Yes. But drawing attention to the issue I haven't seen a particular historical example where it's equivalent.
Yeah.
We all know about abortion. We all know about the push for gay marriage. It's like, okay, we get it. We all know that y'all don't like Trump.
Right.
We all know you think he's a fascist because we've been grown tired of the word,
and it's lost its meaning.
And it's lost its meaning entirely. So in that regard, drawing attention, nothing. You got nothing. You didn't accomplish a dang thing. And also, I think one of the other aspects, one of the other goals of these things is to express solidarity. I hear people talk about that. It's like, well, we just want to show that we're all united against this thing. Look how many people is basically the appeal to what is it? Popularity. I can't remember what the proper term is, but basically, hey, look at all the people who do this and bandwagon effect stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So they look at all the people who are against Trump, and we're just showing the world how many people are against Trump. So in that regard, I guess you show us there is a portion of the country that is against Trump, but we knew that because we had an election and everybody logged. It's like, how many millions of people are for? How many millions of people are against? We got that number. We get it.
Well, and downtown St. Louis, I mean, there are a lot of people in downtown St. Louis who are Democrat and don't like President Trump.
No way.
Now we know that.
No way.
Well, so the thing that I'm concerned about right now, though, is that when you have something popping up simultaneously across the nation, that's a good way of providing cover for bad actors. So it could be
definitely.
We were just happening to be in an area that was not intended to go that way, and now they have whatever information they need, and they can communicate and say if it's worth it or not. And then when there's no Kings Part 2, then, whatever they're going to call it. Now, we had a caller earlier who couldn't stay, but Scott says, if they were intelligent, we actually have no King's Day once a year. It's called the 4th of July, and he'll be celebrating it the good old-fashioned American way this year. So
that's right. By blowing stuff up, and eating things that are bad for you
with tax fireworks, but we'll ignore that.
In some cities, okay, so that's see the cover for bad actors, I think, is absolutely true. I honestly expected a lot more of a problem, not just around here, but around the country. Now, there were some areas where things got really ugly, and like one woman's dead because of it. And apparently she had nothing to do with the protest or the counter protest. She was just there.
Oh my gosh.
So around here, though, it was, I'm not going to say a non-event because there were a lot of people. That makes it a news story. It makes it a valid news story.
Yeah.
But on Channel 4, Channel 2, and Channel 5's, those are among the websites I look at every morning for like local stuff. Everything about the No Kings protest in St. Louis had been already pushed off of the front page.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was, and so that the good news is it was peaceful and it was done the right way. The bad news is their reward for doing it the right way is that not many people are talking about it.
Right.
So what's the incentive next time when there is something?
Well, hopefully there is no, I guess I suppose one could look at it as this incentivizes them to do the violent stuff.
That's what I'm worried about.
In order to get the attention that they crave.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the counter incentive should be, that listing that one sheriff had of the consequences of doing it that way.
That's right.
Right. That should be the counter incentive. So then the resultant should be stop doing this protest nonsense because it's stupid.
Well, but here's the thing. It's like when you look at, we talked about the TAM overpass, the hippie types that were up there.
Yeah.
They did it the right way and they understood good optics for the most part.
Yeah. They were waving mostly American flags.
Right. Mostly. There were a couple others.
I saw a Palestinian flag.
So
but
there, and a Mexican flag and a gay rights flag, so there were a few that are like, let's use this. But for the most part, they're like, hey, we need to not be a-holes if we, So I think that if some of the leftists, at least around here, are figuring that out, okay, I'm fine.
I'll take those kind of protests.
Listen, I can handle dueling opinions every day, nonviolent dueling opinions. I'm fine with that.
Now, I just want to, before we get to break, make the observation that I'm sure we're all aware of, but just in case anybody needs to hear it. No king or fascist dictator would ever allow a protest called No Kings to get out in their nation. So maybe they'll learn their lesson from this.
It's a good point.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
I have to tell my kids that I'm a rock star now.
on News Talk STL.
Read it in the headlines, see it on the news.
News, analysis, opinion.
Federal agents are being attacked in the city of Los Angeles.
Let's get more people involved.
We're not going to let our country be torn apart.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Spotty showers and a few thunderstorms around the St. Louis metro area today, but steadier and heavier rain is more likely to the south. Humidity continues to hang fairly high today, up to 84 this afternoon. Light wind out of the south and southeast. Partly cloudy overnight, looking mainly dry, down to 71. Tuesday looks toasty. Partly cloudy with a high of 91, a muggy one. Storms likely Wednesday, and some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Graduation season is here. Make your parties memorable with Anthony's Produce beautiful fruit and vegetable trays. Perfect for any special event. We're featuring the freshest local produce coming into season, including the best tomatoes in town. Anthony's is your one-stop shop for everything you need. Fresh bison, beef, chicken, and pork. Delicious Fazio bread straight from the bakery. Anthony's Produce on Jungerman in St. Peters. Call 636-936-0496 or stop by today.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
My guest today, never Trumper John LaBoutiere. This is one interview you don't want to miss.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, as the missiles fly in the Middle East, one of the many questions that we have, and this is fair here, is how could this affect the U.S.? First, we need to sort out what's the myth and the reality and the why, because all of that really matters. And then by extension, what could this mean to us here in the U.S.?
And you've probably seen the news. A state lawmaker was assassinated in Minnesota over the weekend. At 7:05, we'll talk to our own Tim Jones about the hatred and violence targeting elected officials. He's been a speaker, right? So we'll find out how this hit home for him.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to be in 30 minutes from right now. We're now joined by Yuri Kaufman. He's the author of, here's the book. The book title is American Intifada, Israel, the Gaza War, and the New Anti-Semitism. And Yuri, I think you and I talked on my national show a couple of months ago before any of this happened here. So I appreciate you being on the program here. Very few people are going to study this the way that you do on this. And let me go to the kind of the core of the latest volley that's continuing to happen right now. There's a lot of people in the U.S. who are saying they're trying to compare it to I went and broke into my neighbor's house and punched him. Please pray for me as I defend myself against, this. And they're trying to make that correlation. Israel says this was defensive, even though we started this round of it because we know what Iran was about to do. What's the reality of the situation and what's Israel's actual policy when it comes to these sorts of things?
Well, first of all, the idea that Israel somehow started this is ridiculous. Iran has been attacking Israel through its proxies for it's getting close to 2 years now. It started with Hamas. It continued with Hezbollah. It continues with the Houthis. Iran also fired an unprecedented missile attack at Israel in April of 2024. It was the largest missile attack launched against any country in the history of the world up to that point. 30 cruise missiles, 100 ballistic missiles, hundreds and hundreds of drones. Israel managed to shoot almost all of them out of the sky. But the point is, where we are right now is where that Iran was about to get a bomb. They were making the last mad dash to finally create that nuclear weapon that they've been working on for over 25 years. And that nuclear weapon poses an existential threat, not just to Israel, but to, frankly, all of humanity, including the United States. Remember when Iranians chant in the street, they always chant Marj Bar Omrika, death to America. They refer to Israel as the little Satan, but America as the big Satan. And the point I think I really want to get across more than any other is this is a really different crowd. You know, people have gotten a little complacent about nuclear weapons. They've been around a long, long time. We're actually going to mark the 80th anniversary of the Los Alamos test firing next month. So this stuff's been around a long time. A lot of people feel like, well, you know, nuclear weapons, you know, we learned how to live with them. It's okay. It'll just be one more country that has nuclear weapons. That's all wrong. This is a different group of people. They are, frankly, crazy. They are messianic. Mutually assured destruction for some of them is an incentive. This is a direct existential threat, not just to Israel, but to the United States as well.
Good morning, Gabe Phifer here. So talk a little bit about Israel's just standing policy in regards to this. You know, where's their red line? What are the types of actions they're willing to take, and how that kind of led to this most recent exchange?
So Prime Minister Netanyahu was crystal clear about this. He's not trying to effectuate any sort of regime change. Israel's war is not with the Iranian people. President Trump has said that as well. Israel has two very limited goals that are critical for its survival. One is depriving Iran of its missile capability, and the other is depriving Iran of its nuclear capability. Iran was about to bring a bunch of factories online that would have allowed it to build 3,000 of these ballistic missiles per month. In addition to that, they were in a breakout moment where they were about to create, it's debated, 9 or 10 atomic weapons. That is, again, is an existential threat to the state of Israel and to all of humanity, you can even say. You know, Israel's got probably the best missile defense in the world, one can argue right now. And Iran fired 450 ballistic missiles at Israel so far. 10 of them have slipped through. To give you an idea of just how destructive these are, one missile, just one, and I say again, they already fired off 450. One of these missiles landed in an Israeli city called Bat Yam. It wiped out an entire complex. 12 buildings, big, tall apartment buildings, were just completely destroyed. Another 40 are going to have to be repaired. About 800 people have been rendered homeless. Again, because they have really good fortifications and bomb shelters, only 14 people have been killed. I mean, only. But nevertheless, I mean, it just gives you an idea of the destructive capacity of missiles like this. They threaten not just Israel, they threaten Saudi Arabia. Iran has already fired at them back in 2019, and they threaten the United States. It is critical that we take advantage of this moment and finish off the Ayatollah's capability once and for all.
We're visiting with Yuri Kaufman, and we'll tell you more about his book and how you can follow him in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so how successful was the strike against Iran as far as setting back their nuclear ambitions or their offensive weapon capability? I mean, is it a matter of this sends a message, or did this actually roll back the threat?
So it rolled it back to some degree, but it certainly didn't eliminate it. And everyone agrees on this. Israel, you know, they can do some things, but there are some things they just don't have the capability of doing. The Iranians have a very large facility in a place called Fordow. It was burrowed out of a mountain. It's about 120, 130 feet below the ground. Israel just doesn't have a weapon that can strike something that deep in the ground. America, fortunately, does. We have the MOB, the massive ordnance bomb, or sometimes they call it the mother of all bombs. It weighs about 30,000 pounds. It's something like, I forget the exact figure, but it's something like 7 tons of just pure high explosives. Israel doesn't have a platform that can carry something that heavy. The only thing that can is a B-52 or a B-2 bomber. Now, there are now 6 B-2 bombers we know in Diego Garcia, an American base in the Indian Ocean. They could theoretically be put into use and bring an end to the Fordow complex. I personally think it would be a terrible, terrible mistake to allow this once-in-a-history moment to pass and not deprive Iran of its nuclear program once and for all. Also, we need maximum pressure. President Trump has been great on this. He was the one who brought maximum pressure sanctions to bear on Iran. That's the only thing that ever brought them to the table. President Biden quietly removed those sanctions, and Iran just basically thumbed its nose at him. They made no concessions. They made a breakout to the bomb, and they just started selling oil as if nothing had happened. So we need to go back to the maximum pressure policy of President Trump and finally end this nuclear program once and for all.
Now, that speaks to my next question about U.S. involvement. You mentioned the use of basically the ordinance that is only available to America. Now, is this the type of thing where sale to Israel to let them use it would be considered some sort of international violation of a escalation of a conflict and U.S. inserting itself? Or is it something that we can do quietly and just let Israel do its business?
Unfortunately, Israel, this is the one thing that Israel cannot do for us. This is an aside, I will tell you. Israel has done so many things for us. They are the ultimate force multiplier. They're literally the best ally we have. There is no other country that gets so little from us, just a few $billions a year, and delivers so much. They took out Saddam Hussein's reactor. They took out Bashar Assad's reactor. They took out so many leading terrorists. It's pretty unbelievable. Now look what they're doing to Iran. But Israel just doesn't have the capability for a simple reason. The massive ordnance bomb, as I said, weighs something like 15 tons. Israel just does not have a platform, a missile or a fighter jet that can carry something that weighs 15 tons. The only thing that can carry something that heavy is a B-2 bomber. Israel does not have any B-2 bombers. Fortunately, we do. This is why we built it. And this is the moment to use it. Again, an Iran with a nuclear weapon is not the same as a Russia or a China or even a North Korea. Kim Jong-un is not trying to export radical ideology to other countries. He's not trying to conquer anything and create a caliphate, but the Iranian Ayatollahs are. And it's just going to keep escalating. And sadly, it really could escalate into a nuclear exchange.
Well, and the nuclear exchange is one thing I want to follow up with, because there's going to be a lot of people. And I think it's intellectually defensible to say, wait a minute, I don't want to risk the United States being drawn into another Middle Eastern war. What would be the threats to us? I mean, if the U.S. were to get involved, and we know the Israel's asked that, I don't know what the president's answer is going to be on that. What would we be taking on, and why would we want to become actively involved in the war? Because it's one thing to sell them stuff or even give them stuff, but it's another thing to insert ourselves into it. What would be in it for us to get involved in their war?
So let's start from the beginning. The mistake of the Iraq war was not taking out WMD, which, of course, as it turned out, wasn't there.
Right.
The mistake of Iraq was conquering a country and trying to turn it into a democracy. We are not turning these countries into democracies. That ain't going to happen. The mistake, in other words, was nation building. You never want to do that. You never want to occupy someone else's territory. These countries are what they are. We are not going to recreate them in our own image. However, having said that, we're talking about something much, much more limited. We're talking about just a bombing mission to take out assets, and that's it. Now, the Iranians might retaliate. I would point out President Trump had the courage to take out the leading Iranian figure, the head of the Revolutionary Guard, Qasem Soleimani, and nothing happened practically. They fired a few rockets at an American military base. Nobody was killed. Nobody was injured. And that was the end of it. Iran does not want to get into some sort of long-distance war with the U.S. Now, would I support us invading Iran and trying to create a democracy there? Of course not. That would be insanity. But when you talk about something as simple, and I hate to use the word, but it's appropriate here, surgical, as just going in, hitting, it's about 9 facilities, taking them out, destroying them completely, and then following that up with maximum pressure sanctions. So Iran is choked economically unless it gives up its nuclear program once and for all. That is something America can do. I think we can do it at relatively low cost. And it's going to be a lot cheaper to do that than to live in a world where Iran is supporting Houthis and supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and insurgencies all over the world. But you can't do much in response because Iran might go ahead and use a nuclear weapon.
All right. The book is called American Intifada, Israel, the Gaza War, and the New Anti-Semitism. What are people going to learn if they buy your book, Yuri?
Well, they're going to find out why the left hates Israel. They're going to find out that the reason the left hates Israel is that they have made this weird association where the Palestinians are the people of color and the Israelis are the Jews. So they are the so-called white group of privilege. And so the left instinctively backs the people of color when they fight the white group of privilege. And then you get into something called cognitive dissonance. When people have deeply held beliefs and then facts appear that contradict the beliefs, people change the facts. And that is why you have so many leading Democrats and left-wing figures making crazy statements about Israel. Like, for example, Barack Obama who said Israel had unclean hands after the October 7 attack because of what he called the unbearable occupation. There was no occupation. They had withdrawn 18 years before. But this is the kind of thinking, where they make things up because, again, they want to back people of color against what they perceive as a white group of privilege. The problem is what everyone thinks of the legacy of slavery and apartheid and so on. This has nothing to do with Israel. It is a totally different fact pattern. That's what they're going to find out in the book.
So Israeli Middle Eastern people are now white? Is that how
Well, that's what it is. I mean, look, they view them as Jews. Jews are viewed as, a white group of privilege. Well, let me put it to you this way. Yeah. After the October 7 attack, 1,200 dead, many wounded, hundreds of women raped, 250 hostages. Palestinians refer to Jews as apes and pigs regularly. This enjoyed universal support among Palestinians. Joe Biden budgeted billions of dollars in aid to what he would have termed the innocent civilians of Gaza. Okay, now let's engage in a thought experiment. Let's say the people who attacked on October 7 were Germans of another era, or white South Africans, or Ukrainians. In other words, what if they were white people? Do you really think Biden would have budgeted billions of dollars to white supremacists who say that Jews are apes and pigs? Of course he would not. And now let's carry this all the way through. Let's assume, again, in this parallel universe, white supremacists attacked on October 7, not Arab supremacists, but let's assume they murdered 1,200 black people and they raped black women. And then a Republican president said, we're going to give billions of dollars of aid to the innocent civilians, the white supremacists who say that blacks are apes and pigs. There'd be rioting in the streets. People would go nuts. So what we have here is we've projected our own neurosis about race onto this other conflict. It has a completely different history, a completely different fact pattern. It has nothing whatsoever to do with any of these things. Apartheid, colonialism, it's all nonsense. But again, because of cognitive dissonance, you see major figures like Jimmy Carter, like I could say the New York Times, Amnesty International, just making up this crazy fact pattern to justify their ideology.
All right. Once again, the book is called American Intifada, Israel, the Gaza War, and the New Anti-Semitism. I put the link up on our Rumble chat box. Gabe, can we put that in the book club?
Yeah, absolutely.
As well? We're putting that up in our News Talk
It might
STL.
already be there.
It might already be on the News Talk STL book club. Yuri Kaufman, author, analyst, appreciate you being on the program, giving us some perspective here.
Thanks, Yuri.
Thank you so much.
All right. Got some thoughts on that? Let me know. Shoot it my way on social media. Otherwise, we're going to bring you up to date on what's happening around the region and the event/non-event ? Of the No Kings protest in St. Louis here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We stand strong with our volunteers who give their time, talent, and dedication as a shield of support for those who rush into danger. The David Dorn Foundation gives a big thank you from our heart to yours. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
Welcome back to RX Watch. This alert is disturbing.
Right. A while back, we learned that companies like Johnson & Johnson use a mineral called talc in baby powder and other products.
And studies show that talc, when used for feminine hygiene, can cause ovarian cancer.
Now listen to this. RX Watch has learned that the talc they use is being mined in China.
Right, and talc mined in China contains heavy metal contaminants like chromium and magnesium, which are known to cause cancer. But China doesn't care.
So China gets the jobs and we get contaminated talc in our baby powder.
And ovarian cancer.
Right. With their specialized tests, the medical team at Onder Law can help you know if your ovarian cancer was caused by talc.
Onder Law has helped women for years with free and confidential consultation. You need to call Onder Law's pharma attorneys at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey there, Tim Jones here. Make sure you join me and my buddy Chris Arps this afternoon from 4 until 6 p.m. right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Right now, let's get back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right. Were the No Kings protest around here successful, or did they fizzle out? I think you could argue they were successful by protest standards.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't agree with what they said, but we'll get into that in just a minute here. Does President Trump now support some illegal aliens? Yes, it depends on which businesses hire them illegally.
Oh, boy.
I'm not wild about this move by the president. It seems like this is undermining part of his credibility. And then we have a football champion that was crowned in St. Louis, and you probably missed it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that just ahead at 6:51. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Downtown St. Louis, just for the record, was not trashed by the No Kings protesters over the weekend. As it's been observed, it looked that way before the protest happened. Multiple protests against Donald Trump took place around the area on Saturday, including a pretty large one with over 1,000 people downtown. That appeared that it was all nonviolent. It was peaceful, and no arrests were reported anywhere in the St. Louis area that I could find. There were violent incidents and at least one death related to the No Kings event in other parts of the country. But guys around here, the leftists who took part in these protests, seemed generally to do it the right way. And I disagree with everything they were saying, but they just exercised their First Amendment rights like anybody else.
Yeah, they actually did the thing the way we asked them to do the thing. So that was
the way you're supposed to.
The way you're supposed to do. That's true.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't think they cared what we
thought. Well, yeah,
anything.
good point.
But then that brings the other question up is like, okay, what was accomplished?
Right.
And I said, honestly, I mean, if you were part of it, send me a note. I'm curious, what do you feel? I mean, if you felt like it was successful and you made a good use of your time, why? I mean, and I'm not challenging you. I'm just curious. What's the answer?
And my view on modern protests has always been that they basically accomplish nothing except making the people who participate in it feel a little better.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's the best I can do.
I'll be looking for those answers throughout the day, just in case anybody can send one in. But then again, I would ask the same thing. And I did ask the same thing, on, for instance, right before the election, people doing the MAGA, the Trump things over the overpasses, your First Amendment right. But what did you really accomplish? I mean, you were going to win anyway in Missouri. I mean, did it really change anything on that?
I mean, sunlight's a great source of vitamin D, and that can affect your mood.
That's true.
They're getting outside.
So they got to touch some grass finally.
They touched grass.
All right. That's right. They touch grass. Okay. We're going to get into this a little more depth here at 7:05 with our own Tim Jones. Police in Minnesota arrest Vance Belter last night, and they've charged him with the murders of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. They were assassinated in their home early Saturday morning, and I do use that word on purpose. Brooklyn Park, Minnesota Police Chief Mark Bruley says there was a lot at stake in trying to capture this particular suspect.
We have been just solely focused on the manhunt. And the goal is to give some calm to the situation of many individuals that were on the list that were worried about their safety.
Belter is also charged with attempting to murder State Senator John Kaufman and his wife, Yvette. Everybody who was shot is a Democrat in Minnesota, excuse me. Senator Kaufman and his wife are expected to live. The representative who was murdered, Melissa Hortman, she is a former Speaker of the House of Minnesota. Okay, this one, this is interesting. Is President Trump selling out on the issue of illegal immigration at least a little? At least a little.
Yeah.
The president is halting immigration arrests at farms, restaurants, and hotels. Here is the story from our friends at Town Hall.
Admitting that his administration's immigration crackdown is hurting farmers and the hospitality business, the president directed immigration officers to stop arresting some undocumented residents.
We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
He said many of those people are great workers, even though they're not citizens. It's a change of tone for the president, who has promised the largest deportation operation in American history. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so the president has ordered doubling down on ICE and immigration raids in the areas where like the violence is happening and in deep blue areas, he says, but not these. That's a credibility issue to me. Are illegals good? I mean, is it good to deport illegals or not? I mean, why are we differentiating illegal aliens or illegal aliens? And if you say, but these are okay and we have to have these, you're undermining your entire argument for all of them.
It's a terrible take. I mean, what about meat packing, right? What about the chicken processors, that recently had raids over at Purdue or whatever?
Roofers,
the roofers. Yes, it's like, oh, wait, we don't want to hurt our local businesses. Stop it. And especially the agricultural workers. That's a particular one that's a big bugaboo, because we actually have a specific visa program for migrant. Agriculture work, seasonal agricultural workers. It's a H1 something or other. Look, stop protecting your pals on this. I really don't like that. This is what I would call bad Trump.
This is a big mistake by the president.
This is bad
He's
Trump.
just wrong.
Now there is good Trump when he's hilarious, like this post that I'm looking at from Truth Social right now that Jeremy's got queued up. He says, a huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job.
I thought you might like that.
You know what? That's
holy crap.
That's real. That's awesome.
That's great Trump
awesome.
right there.
Oh,
so more of this, less of the protecting illegals in certain industries.
It's all or nothing. On the battle against illegal aliens, it's all or nothing. Don't undermine your own credibility on this.
Yes,
and that's
please.
what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
Okay, the city's Board of Aldermen is now considering a bill that explicitly defines what the city sheriff's office is expected to do and what it's not allowed to do. While every previous sheriff seemed to understand the duties of the job, current Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery has expressed confusion over the expectations, even while asking for more funding from the city. The board bill reiterates that the sheriff's office is responsible for serving court papers, protecting the 22nd Judicial Circuit, and issuing concealed carry permits as required by law and nothing else. Yeah. We'll see what happens with that board bill.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the UFL crowned a champion Sunday at the Dome. The DC Defenders whooped up on the Michigan Panthers. Final score in downtown St. Louis was 58-34.
Holy crap.
Yeah, in front of absolutely dozens of roaring fans.
Oh, man.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. They're breathing a sigh of relief in Minnesota.
After a two-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Bolter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announcing the capture of the 57-year-old suspect wanted in the shootings of 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses. Bolter was arrested in rural Sibley County at southwest of Minneapolis. Former Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were killed in their Brooklyn Park home early Saturday. Senator John Hoffman, also a Democrat, and his wife Yvette were injured at their home. They are expected to recover. Air raid sirens sounded again overnight in Tel Aviv and other Israeli cities as the Israel-Iran conflict grinds on.
Tehran had announced it had launched some 100 missiles and vowed further retaliation for Israel's surprise attack on its nuclear program and military leadership, which has killed at least 220 people in the country since it began on Friday. The nation announced the latest salvo after a weekend of escalating tit-for-tat attacks. Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard vowed that further rounds of strikes would be more forceful and severe.
Correspondent Charles De Ledesma says at least 24 people have been killed in Israel, with more than 500 injured from Iranian missiles and drones. Israel says it has now achieved aerial superiority over Tehran and can fly over the Iranian capital and other parts of the country pretty much unmolested. The Middle East situation and trade expected to figure high on the agenda. The G7 summit in Canada. President Trump is in Alberta now for that meeting. Crews are searching for 3 people missing in the wake of flash flooding in West Virginia's northern panhandle. At least 5 deaths blamed on the severe weather. On Wall Street, the Dow futures 241 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Progressive knows road trips without your pet can be tough.
Hi, this is Next Stop Dog Boarding.
Hi, it's Scott again. How's Squeaks doing? You can tell if he's stressed by his eyebrows. Oh, and his breathing should sound like this.
Scott, Squeaks is exactly the same as last time you called.
Okay, let's talk in 20 to see if anything's changed.
With Progressive, your pet is covered up to $1,000 in vet bills in case of a car accident. So next time, you can take your pet with you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Coverage for dogs and cats is included with the purchase of collision coverage.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Spotty showers and a few thunderstorms around the St. Louis metro area today, but steadier and heavier rain is more likely to the south. Humidity continues to hang fairly high today, up to 84 this afternoon. Light wind out of the south and southeast. Partly cloudy overnight, looking mainly dry, down to 71. Tuesday looks toasty. Partly cloudy with a high of 91, a muggy one. Storms likely Wednesday, and some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Onder Law. Call for a free consultation because winning is what we do at Onder Law. Call 314 or 618-9000.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Patriot Heating and Cooling. When your home's comfort is on the line, you need a team you can trust. That's why I recommend Patriot Heating and Cooling, St. Louis's trusted team of HVAC experts. These pros make customer service their number one priority, whether it's a summer breakdown or a winter emergency. Booking your service couldn't be easier. Just visit callpatriothvacstl.com or call 314-527-2722. Patriot Heating and Cooling. Comfort every day, the Patriot way.
Hey, want to amaze your friends when they visit? They'll be impressed when they see your custom-made draperies, blinds, or shutters. Michael Proctor will personally help you select the correct colors to truly showcase your home. Then he will actually design, personally install everything. No overhead markup. That's going to save you money on draperies, blinds, or shutters.
Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Mike Ferguson,
You play ball like a girl.
Gabe Phifer,
I triple dog dare you.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
Okay, so let me start off with a weird question here, and we'll follow this up in a couple minutes. Are we part of the problem? And I say we, I mean very collectively, but I'm saying, but that includes the right. We talk a lot about leftist violence, but I think at times like this, we should probably step back and go, now, maybe the answer is no, we're not. But I think we need to at least intellectually, honestly ask the question.
Right.
Now, I'm going to admit to actually hating a few, very few, but hating a few politicians because of what they do to people.
Oh, absolutely.
As in, I hate the person because of what they do to other people.
Looking at you, Sam Page.
Which is precisely, that's who I'm thinking, which is why I do everything I can to convince people to vote against him every chance that I get and his interest in there. But political violence has ended the lives of 2 people over the weekend, almost ended the lives of 2 others. So let's assess where we're at and if we need to have everybody step back and reevaluate a few things.
We also need to look at this reevaluation going on at the White House. Is there a crack in the president's crackdown on illegal immigration? So at 7:20, let's talk about his decision to apparently be okay with some illegals over other illegals. And we want to know what you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. 7:20. All right. You've heard the news. By the way, it is 7:07 right now. My understanding is she's the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, State House of Representatives in Minnesota, and she was murdered. She was assassinated along with her husband.
Right.
And then a state senator was shot along with his wife, and this was an apparent politically motivated attempted murder and murder, which makes it an assassination.
Yes.
This is at a state level. We don't think of things like this happening. Our very own Tim Jones, you hear him every afternoon from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock with Chris Arps, as you know, has been a speaker, which is why we leverage his experience so much on this. So, Tim, when you get the news on this, my guess, just as long as I've known you, is that Republican Democrat didn't jump out at you. Former speaker probably jumped out at you. What do you feel, and what went through your mind when you read that news that somebody was apparently assassinated over politics and over votes? And we don't know fully why this lunatic did this, but we do know it was targeting somebody based on politics.
Indeed. Good morning, fellows. Yeah, it's an absolutely terrifying time, isn't it? When you think about the fact that just right here in the state of Missouri, we have nearly 200 sitting state legislators, and that's not even counting all of the former state legislators like myself and those who might run for office someday. So, just doing simple math, if you have approximately 50 legislators in Missouri, and we have, we're probably right in the median as far as number of legislators in a state legislature. But, you take the 50 states and you think about the fact that each state may have around, somewhere between 150 to 300 legislators. New Hampshire has a massive House of Representatives of over 400 legislators. You're probably talking around 10,000 or more legislators spread out all across the country. Therefore, think about the security dynamics of that. It's absolutely, I'm sorry to say, just speaking factually here, it's absolutely impossible to provide a presidential level security detail to 10,000 sitting state legislators, not counting the former state legislators and those who might be running for office. Look, the president of the United States had a presidential level security detail, and he was almost shot and killed, not once, but twice over the last year. The political violence and rhetoric, Mike, is escalated to a point I've never seen it before. Now, did I receive threats when I was in office? I'll tell you, folks, fellas, I probably did. Mike, I might have spoken with you about them back in the time. I've been out of office for 10 years now. And some days I thank my lucky stars that I did my service and I'm out, because I can't imagine in this 24/7 social media driven world it seems like with every year, more and more insanity and a higher level of lunatics are trying to find their 3 minutes of fame online. I received death threats back in the day. Most of them were inconsequential, but all of them were terrifying. And you never knew when someone was going to carry out the threat or attempt to carry out the threat. Some of the threats I received were very detailed about where I lived and about my family members, which I always considered completely out of bounds. And if you don't take each and every threat seriously, you never know which one is going to be the one that is actually effectuated. And it's just a terrifying place to live in when people are willing to take political rhetoric and turn it into political violence.
Morning, Tim. Gabe here. So yeah, I think we've kind of like you said, we've kind of lived with the threats for a while now, and I think they were less likely to be executed, back in the day, but people are getting more and more comfortable with it. We're seeing it based on some of these polls that I've seen. We're getting used to, or we're getting more comfortable with political violence the younger we get, both on the left and the right, as Americans. Where does this end? Where are we going from here? I'm worried about the future, as to, who's going to be brave enough even to step into this arena when they know their life may be on the line.
Well, it will never end, unfortunately. I hate to say that, Gabe, until the leaders decide that enough is enough. And in kind of thinking about what I was going to say this morning, I looked at one of the most recent incidences where a major political leader was shot and almost killed, and that was Steve Scalise. Only by the grace of God, and a lot of an amazing response by law enforcement on the ground at the congressional baseball game practice many years ago. I think that was back in 2018. And most recently, just not even 1 year ago, Steve Scalise put up on his official page, scalise.house.gov, and a press release statement. Scalise on violent Democrat rhetoric. Enough is enough. So how about that? One of the victims of political violence, in this case from the left, is still speaking out quite vociferously on this. And, I hate to politicize this morning, but it seems like everything is. In most recent years, we have seen a rise of violence and political violence on the left. And it's because many of their leaders have engaged in extremely virulent leftist rhetoric, haven't they? You guys and some of our other shows throughout the day, sometimes we run them on a loop, don't we? We put together all the statements from Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Clark and Chuck Schumer and the others, basically challenging their voters, their followers, their constituents, to get up in their face and take it to the streets and give them no rest. It is really the left that has amped this up. And so until the left decides to amp it down, you've got kind of this Cold War going on this type of rhetoric. And so it would be nice, wouldn't it, if given this horrible circumstance, and we don't know the exact details of why these two Democratic lawmakers were targeted. I have heard that it might have been over a vote they had taken recently. How horrific is that? What a dangerous third world type country we live in, where our political leaders are going to be targeted and assassinated, as Mike correctly said, for carrying out the will of the people as representatives.
So, talking about the rhetoric, I want to make sure, because on one level, I do think, let's say politicians who support abortion, I do think they have blood on their hands. I do think Caleb Rowden has blood on his hands for allowing things like Amendment 3 to get through. But at the same time, I think what we're hearing from the left, I think, is the difference between I think you are a threat, I think you do bad things, I think you support bad things. I think we are hearing from the left calls to action, like you said, this get in their face, get in the street, let them, don't let them be comfortable anywhere. So how do we parse that so that the public understands the difference between the rhetorical criticisms of the policies as opposed to the calls to action that arguably leads to these things?
Right. And let me jump in, Tim, because for instance, we mentioned, because I'm fessing up to how much I can't stand Sam Page, not as a policy, but as a person.
Yeah.
But I was the one also saying, stop going to his house and harassing his family. I was very, very vocal about that should be off limits as well.
Yeah, guys, it is at times a fine line, but it's one that I think we need to establish and make sure we don't cross, right? It is absolutely and completely permissible, of course, under all of our constitutional rights and protections. And it's why we are a free country, that we get to criticize our elected leaders for the policy positions they have. But Gabe, you just hit the nail on the head there. It's the call to action that has become so much more than a dog whistle. It's become a freaking trumpet blaring in the streets most days, where these Democrats and those on the left are actually encouraging their followers to go do something to conservative, Republican, libertarian-leaning elected officials. That is the line you cannot cross. And unfortunately, that call to action, guys, it has instigated people to take action. We have countless examples over the last few years. I don't notice and I don't see, and I'm not trying to be unfair here, but I don't see that level of a call to action, nor do I see actions being carried out by those on the right. And it starts with Democrats pounding this drum over and over again. They say things like, for example, Kamala Harris and others have regurgitated this talking point about Donald Trump being a threat to democracy and a threat to and calling him a Nazi. Right. Well, that's rhetoric that, in my opinion, crosses the line, because you're saying that someone is a genocidal killer and is a threat to our way of life. Well, you get someone who's maybe just looking for a reason to tip over that edge, and I think you've just granted it to them.
Okay, we're visiting with Tim Jones. You can hear him every afternoon, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We're a little over, Tim, but let me wrap up with this question here. Okay, so what do we do about it to make the situation better? I don't plan on backing down on what I believe in and on the issues and on the candidates I think are bad and the candidates I think are good. But talk to all of us, including us, to say, wait a minute, we all need to be part of the solution to prevent these things from happening while we battle over ideas, because I don't want to back down on what I believe in. But what then should all of us, right and left, including those of us here at News Talk, what should we be doing, and what's the right way to approach this to not back down on the issues, but not give any quarter to anybody who would take this to the level of actual assassination? Because we cannot have a society. We cannot have the society that we think we are and be as good as we think we are or want to be if we allow this type of thing to happen.
Yeah. And Mike, again, it is a distinction with a difference that we all have to begin to try to use our noggins to try and ferret out and to understand. We should absolutely and continuously speak passionately about the ideas we stand for, but we must likewise also speak out against those who are urging violent action to be taken against the people who don't believe in our ideas or who have ideas that are different than ours. Another example, Congressman Goldman, another virulent Trump hater, famous for saying President Trump has to be eliminated. You can't talk about attacking, eliminating, killing the person, right? You can talk about how bad their ideas are, but make sure that in your rhetoric, you're keeping the focus on the principle, on the public policy, and not on the person, not on the personality. It's the personalization of the violent rhetoric and the calls to eliminate, quote, eliminate those people that is the dangerous crossing of the line, in my opinion.
All right. Tim Jones, along with Chris Arps, going to be on at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, assuming Chris is able to get back. But anyway, your show is on this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Tim, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you, gents. We're hoping Chris makes it back from the Holy Land later this week. I understand he and Becky are still safe and sound.
Yes.
But thoughts and prayers out to him as he continues to report back to us from literally a war zone.
Without a doubt. All right, Tim, we'll talk to you soon, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, 314-912-1019. Got some thoughts on that. And also, I want to at least address President Trump saying, well, some illegal aliens are okay. Don't go after them. Just go after the other ones. I got a problem with that. But we'll get your thoughts on what you just talked about versus that as well here just ahead on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
You have a soul so dark it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Democrats produce mobs. Republicans produce jobs.
On News Talk STL. Vic for Vets Honoree of the Day.
Today we honored a veteran, Richard R. Bertoni from World War II and an Italian. We'll continue Veterans Month honoring our veterans Monday with our great supporters, DG Firearms, Patriot Heating and Cooling, and Best Buy Flooring.
The Vic Verzelli Show. Weekdays 9 to noon on News Talk STL.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine in or carry out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
This is Katie McKinney, founder and head of school for Lafayette Academy in Lake St. Louis. Recently, we had a new second grader come to Lafayette Academy who claimed he was stupid and hated reading. Within months of using our world-class literacy program, he was reading Harry Potter and loving it. He had just not been given the right tools. We invite you to our open house Wednesday, June 25th from 5 till 7 and hear from our current families and learn more about our dedicated teachers and world-class curriculum. To learn more, go to LafayetteAcademy.org. That's LafayetteAcademy.org.
Hey, folks, the Clayton Sleep Institute and my friend Dr. Ojal back supporting free common sense conservative radio. ClaytonSleep.com, treating the full range of adult and pediatric sleep disorders from sleep apnea to insomnia, restless leg syndrome, periodic limb movement, and narcolepsy. What an awesome place. New comfy setting for the sleep lab. ClaytonSleep.com, 314-645-5855. Better sleep, better life.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3-Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on NewsTalk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, President Donald Trump is changing his tune on illegal aliens. I mean, at least some illegal aliens. He's doubling down on the others. So is he selling out on a key issue, or is allowing some illegal alien workers, in his words, common sense? I'll let you hear directly from, what that's all about. Get your thoughts on that.
Also, we are talking spending cuts, whether we could get dragged into another foreign war, and President Trump's partial change on the tune of illegal immigration with Congressman Bob Onder coming up at 7:35.
All right, and it is coming up on 7:23 right now. So before I get to this illegal alien thing with the president, Mike had some thoughts on our conversation we just had with Tim Jones and the political violence that's escalating. Mike, what do you think?
So at 7:12, a list of some of the politicians that incite violence, including Maxine. We all know Crazy Maxine, the California rep.
Yeah.
But he said Maxine Clark. She's the head of Build-A-Bear. You might want to walk that one back.
Yeah. I'm sure he meant Maxine Waters. Thank you for pointing that out.
I'm sure too.
Thank
you,
a
sir.
good catch.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Appreciate that. Yeah. So Maxine Waters. So
Maxine Clark. She just likes bears. Also, actually, she's on the board of trustees for Wash U. So
so she's probably a leftist, but
she's probably lefty. But she hasn't, from what we understand, she hasn't called for violence.
Leave her and her bears alone.
Yep.
She's not put out a my first jihad.
No, I bet you there's a Palestinian bear out there.
Oh, there may be a little teddy bear with a keffiyeh. Who knows? But I haven't seen it, so I can't say for certain here. All right, this really was I think the biggest surprise I had when I went and got caught up on the news for today's show here. While ICE is doubling down at the president's instruction on arresting and deporting illegal aliens in basically a lot of big cities, especially in blue states, President Trump stunned us by saying, well, some illegals should be allowed to stay and keep working illegally. Yeah. So I'm asking the question, do you feel like especially for everybody who said, yes, this is what I voted for, and I got his back on, sending in ICE and Tom Homan and sending in the National Guard to quell the virus, because this all ostensibly started over, raids on illegal aliens. So is he selling out on this key issue? That's my first part of the question, Gabe. And another one is, do you lose credibility when you say we should accept some illegal stuff, depending on what the illegals do with it, while cracking down on other illegal stuff? So basically, manufacturing and plants and roofers and things in big blue cities and states, go get them. But illegal aliens working on farms and processing plants in red agricultural states, leave them alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's major problems there.
Yeah. And so, he's getting a lot of stuff right, but this is a credibility issue to me on this. I mean, do we need to get rid of the illegal aliens or not?
Right. And he's leaning into actually a Democrat talking point, because one of theirs is always, well, who's going to pick our vegetables?
Right.
It's always one of their, it's like, oh my gosh, all of these hardworking illegal aliens, they're just here to work and they're contributing to society and blah, blah, blah. That's a Democrat talking point,
right,
that they say, well, this is why you can't just have a blanket, I don't know, follow the law ideology, because what about all the people that we want to keep,
right,
basically as our permanent underclass? And Trump is kind of leaning into this, and I think it's a bad look.
Yeah, you know who else is in America that also wants to work?
No.
Americans.
No way.
Yes.
No
The
way.
people
No
that
way.
are supposed to be here.
That's crazy.
But also, I want to you made an excellent point. We were talking about this in the news dump a little bit ago. We have pretty loose seasonal agricultural visa programs.
Yes.
And permit. So if somebody just wants to come in, do the seasonal farm work
and go back,
that a lot of Americans don't want to do, or at least for that price. And they want to come in and undercut the America. You can do it legally pretty easily for the farm working workers. So it's not like you have to be illegal to do this. So basically, this is the president saying, well, I'm going to take care of some of the employers who are breaking the law and undermining American workers, but I'm going to go get the other ones.
Right. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Because we were saying, and he's been preaching law and order. He's been preaching, send them back. He's been saying it's going to be the largest deportation effort in the history of America, which is like how many estimated illegals are there here? Like 30 million or something ridiculous like that. You know what? A good number of those millions are going to be working on farms someplace.
Yeah.
So what? Get rid of them. They're not supposed to be here.
So this is not setting well with all Republicans, though.
Okay.
For instance, Senator Tom Cotton was asked about this on CBS's Face the Nation.
Usually it's unscrupulous employers who have large numbers of illegal immigrants working in their work sites, and whatever work site it is, whatever industry it is, ICE has to be able to go and enforce our immigration laws.
Right. And
absolutely.
So, but that's the thing is, this is one of the things that I have thought President Trump was getting right.
Yeah.
He did he poke the left, in the eye with the way he was doing it? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
and we didn't actually, it's not that we didn't care. We actually liked it.
Right.
We liked when he poked the left in the face and said, no, we're just deporting them all.
So literally within 24 hours, he orders them to double down in the big cities and go after the ICE raids, basically where people caused the violence and, all the crap started. He's like, double down, go. We're increasing our raids. We're going to really increase it. But at the same time, well, these other illegal aliens, they're good workers. I don't want to hurt the farm industry or the leisure industry. And like, no. Which is it? Are you committed to the issue? Is the issue the issue, or is it not? Are you picking winners and losers here? Why are the red states being told you can keep your farm workers, but the blue states can't keep your factory workers and roofers? I mean, they're illegal aliens. It's one or the other to me.
Now, does this mean that the LA protests were a success because they wanted to interfere with the ICE deportations? Now President Trump is
he's backing off a little bit.
See, that's an interesting observation and question.
I hadn't even thought of that, man.
But is it hurting the farmers to say, well, you actually have to hire somebody above board? Well,
maybe
sort of, but are they cheating the system by hiring the illegals and undercutting the wages? Now, here's the thing. You do it above board, your grocery costs are going to go up.
Yes,
absolutely. That's the reality.
That's going to happen.
But, and when people say, okay, Mike, you want to pay more for groceries? Of course not. But is that part of the cost of having a nation where we have a secure border? And this is part of the cost of having a secure border.
Right.
But the biggest part of this to me, and we're going to talk to Congressman, I want to ask Congressman Bob Onder about this here in a little bit. The biggest part of this to me is have your policy. You know what? Biden had the wrong policy, but he loved all the illegal aliens.
Yeah, seriously.
He wasn't trying to get rid of any of them. With President Trump, he has the right policy, but he says, but only against some of them. Some of them I'm okay with. That's not a policy. That's not a conviction. That's not credible. to me. So let's hope that he sort of clarifies on that.
Yeah. Listener Kathleen on Facebook says, we need him to be the president he was elected to be, not a pancake flip-flop boy.
Ooh.
Yeah. So she came strong with it.
Oh,
and
kidding.
look, and Allison also said, look, a good old-fashioned phone call to the White House could go a long way.
That's right.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You are a bully?
On NewsTalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Spotty showers and a few thunderstorms around the St. Louis metro area today, but steadier and heavier rain is more likely to the south. Humidity continues to hang fairly high today, up to 84 this afternoon. Light wind out of the south and southeast. Partly cloudy overnight, looking mainly dry, down to 71. Tuesday looks toasty. Partly cloudy with a high of 91, a muggy one. Storms likely Wednesday, and some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Back pain? Follow me to Esquire Sports Medicine, where they've got your back. Esquire is the oldest sports medicine clinic in St. Louis. Dr. Draghi and his team of chiropractors can get you back to work, back to life without the pain. New patients usually scheduled within 24 hours. 314-644-0885. 644-0885. EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit Vincent'sJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on NewsTalk STL.
The more I've spent studying last week's Israeli attack on Iran, the more impressed I am. Israel had extensive intel on where targets would be and when. Israel had learned it could even fake some action, and all the Iranian leadership would gather in one place for a detailed briefing and planning. Apparently, not one of them looked around and asked, is it safe for all of us to be here? Israel had also established a drone base inside Iran, precision missiles hidden inside Iran. At 0 hour, they launched. And yes, one of the targets where all the generals had gathered, just as they had previously. The leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was killed, the Air Force commander, and others. Plus, Israel eliminated most of the key nuclear scientists. Trump said after the attack, I've been encouraging them to come to the table and negotiate. I've offered over and over. I've offered you can have commerce, not chaos. Certainly you can't have a nuclear weapon. Well, most of those Trump wanted at a negotiating table, they no longer exist.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on NewsTalk STL.
In all these years that Wellington Environmental has been my sponsor, I've never mentioned their duct cleaning services. Allergy season is here, and Wellington crews clean air ducts daily in homes and commercial buildings, also cleaning air handling units and diffusers in commercial facilities. Why? Well, because people will see black dirt and mold on the vents, or they are actually suffering from allergies. Don't be fooled by low-cost duct cleaning providers saying they charge only per vent, because once they get on site, the price will skyrocket. Wellington does not do this, never has. Wellington will give you an estimate, and you say Larry Connors, and immediately you get a 20% discount. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 314-644-4930. Make your home and business better, safer with Wellington. Be well with Wellington.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This will be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime,
everywhere,
anywhere.
Hi, this is Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow with a reminder to check out our new show, Jeffco Patriot Radio, this and every Sunday at high noon. Now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
All right, left-wing state media and its supporters are kind of baffled by the decision of Republicans to cut their tax money funding and let them try to compete in the real marketplace. Here's the question, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Why do Republicans hate Elmo and Clifford the big red dog? All right.
You know, we're starting the week off with a lot of intense news, so let's include something good. I tell you all about it at 7:50.
All right. It is 7:36 right now. We're joined by Congressman Bob Onder. Okay, so Bob, I want to. You and I was sitting on my sofa the other day, and I get a text from the congressman. And it's a picture of Hakeem Jeffries holding up Elmo.
Oh, yeah.
Bob, I truly thought that was like a meme or a Photoshop thing. And I remember I texted you back. I'm like, is this real? And you were like, yep, this is real on the floor of the U.S. House.
You're right, guys. I witnessed that in real time. I was lined up to participate in the debate on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, and I saw it myself. The minority leader of the U.S. House holding up Elmo. And I immediately texted my staff, you've got to get a picture of this. Because I started Googling it and searching it. I couldn't find it, but my ever competent and faithful staff found it within minutes. Of course, a friend of mine sent back a Photoshop of Elmo holding up Hakeem Jeffries in the same post.
Oh, man.
So, no, it was tempting, guys, but I didn't put it up there.
Oh, you should have. Oh, I would have endorsed that. I would have shared that to everybody.
Yeah. So, and this, of course, has to do with the rescission, bill. And then obviously him wanting to play, hey, everybody loves these characters. And I looked up PBS Kids this morning, and Sesame Street's still listed there, although I think they're also on one of the other cable platforms. But
on Netflix. Yeah. Well, this illustrates something I've been saying for years. I think it was over a decade ago when Republicans were trying to cut funding to PBS and NPR. Chuck Schumer saying this is a war on Big Bird. This is a war on Elmo. Look, things like Sesame Street or Downton Abbey or Masterpiece Theater, they actually have economic value. People actually like listening to them, and they don't have political bias. So guess what? They have value in the private marketplace. Right now, Netflix pays Sesame Workshop, which owns Sesame Street, $30 to $35 million a year just for the new episodes. The amount they paid for the access to the old episodes isn't even publicly disclosed or known. So these brands have real value in the marketplace, whereas some goofball piece about the need for more DEI in sub-Saharan Africa when it comes to harvesting coconuts or something is just people don't want to listen to that stuff, much less the constant editorial content of the president falsely stated. The president cruelly initiated this executive order. It just NPR in many ways is as biased or more biased than MSNBC, and there's no reason we should have government-funded speech competing with private speech.
Besides, Grover got a little mouthy there from time to time.
He did.
Just saying there. But this is, you all voted to make the cuts in the House. What do you expect as far as, is this going to make it all the way through, and how much of these actual cuts, because this is what was promised, is actually going to go into place, and the actual spending is reduced, as opposed to we're going to cut the growth. This is actual cuts. I mean, this is clawing back money that's already been spent. Like you said, I love the fact that you put the fact of saying, there's a desire for some of these in the private marketplace. They can fund it themselves. They don't need taxpayers to do it.
Well, yeah, that's right. And about $1 billion of the rescission package of the $9.4 billion rescission package was NPR and PBS. The rest was foreign aid. This is where we got $3.3 million for LGBT activism in the Caribbean, $1.5 billion for LGBT employment in Serbia, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. But that $9.4 billion with a B, is a drop in the bucket compared to our budget deficit or our debt. So we need more rescission packages. How will our rescission package fare in the Senate? I'm hopeful because rescission packages, which are submitted by the president, money already appropriated that the president wants to cut from the budget, those only require a simple majority in the Senate. So 50 votes plus a tiebreaker by J.D. Vance would get that package across the line. But I am very hopeful the administration will continue to send more of these DOGE rescission packages to Congress.
Good morning, Bob. Gabe here. So we've got basically this fight over one of the Trump administration and the Republicans' promises to voters to cut back on spending. But we seem to be faltering a little bit on the promise to crack down on illegal immigration as Trump has issued this order to sort of roll back some of the enforcement actions against workers and farm workers and people in the hospitality industry. So what do you make of this turn?
Yeah. So, so the goal was always to detain and deport 1 million illegal aliens per year. And along those lines, Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, early last week, announced plans to detain and deport 3,000 illegal aliens a day. And of course, it stands to reason that when you are aiming for numbers, you've got to go where the action is. And sometimes this is workplaces. But apparently, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, and people directly from the agricultural and hospitality industry contacted the administration, and that resulted in this it seemed to be a little bit of backpedaling on workplace enforcement by the administration. I hope that's not the case. I think some of this is the administration's desire to concentrate on sanctuary cities. In more southern, more rural, more red states, we already have good cooperation between law enforcement, whether it be through 287G arrangements or just calling up ICE informally. We already have that. The problem's been that ICE doesn't cooperate with our law enforcement. So if the Trump administration wants to emphasize criminal illegal aliens in sanctuary cities for the time being, that's, I think, okay. But we really do. I mean, Joe Biden let somewhere between 8 and 12 million illegal aliens, maybe more, into the country in 4 years. They're not all long-time reliable workers in the agriculture and hospitality industry. And I would add that I talk to people in those industries, landscaping, agriculture, hospitality, and they resent the ones who are following the law and either using legal visa holders or, imagine this, American citizens. They resent the fact that some of their competitors are basically cheating by hiring illegal aliens. So I think, the statements, the developments last week, I think the Trump administration needs to revisit at some time, hopefully the near future, because detaining and deporting one criminal illegal alien at a time is not going to reverse the Biden administration policies that have been so disastrous to our country.
Okay, does this threaten to undermine the credibility of the president's so far excellent work going after illegal aliens and stopping that threat? I mean, does this threaten to cut into his credibility on the issue if some are okay and others are not?
I think it would. I think it would. Now, the administration has estimated that probably about 1 million have self-deported, and those aren't the hardcore illegal alien gang members don't self-deport. They stay and hide in the shadows. So I think the administration has had a lot of credibility on these issues. Look, what you've got to enforce the border. You've got to do interior enforcement, but you've got to remove the magnets to illegal alien immigration. And one of the biggest, probably the biggest magnet, is the promise of employment and the prospect that you can work in certain industries and not face any chance of deportation. So yes, if what appeared to be signaled by the administration last week held, and again, the administration sometimes signals one thing and goes another way, trade policy and so on. Look, I think that would be very bad, but I think the administration is committed to, and Congress is. The Big Beautiful Bill provides resources for detention beds for 100,000 illegal aliens, resources to deport 1 million illegal aliens a year, and I believe that's going to be the policy long term.
All right, Congressman Bob Onder, once again, really appreciate the update. We'll talk to you again really soon. I mean, I had a whole list of things I wanted to talk about. We just ran out of time for that. But I love the fact that at least we could just start by saying, hey, proactive action to actually cut spending, stop the money from going out. That's a step in the right direction. I'll take any of those wins as long as we can get them.
That's right. And we're saving $1.6 trillion in the Big Beautiful Bill. I hope the Senate will we'll take action on the bill very shortly and save as much or even more than we did in the House.
All right, Congressman Bob Onder. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Have a great week.
All right, bye. All right, and just ahead here, we're going to find out some good things going on in the world. But it was funny. I'm sitting there because I got home after work, and then I get a text from Bob, and he's on the House floor, and it's got that picture of Hakeem Jeffries with Elmo.
Yeah.
I literally text back. I'm like, is this real? Yep, it's
a real thing.
Wow. Okay.
Look at him. You're making him sad. Look at him. Look at him.
Don't make Elmo cry.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs, attorney at law, has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs, attorney at law. Call 636-949-0010, extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. And speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Elmo wants Gabe to tell us something good.
Tell me something good.
Elmo. I tried to do the voice, but
you're not able to do
the only voice I can do halfway well is Kermit the Frog.
That's okay. Yeah,
that's the only one. Okay.
And you do that one.
Here's a Kermit the Frog. Is that any good?
That's pretty good. That's
That's
good.
my Kermit the Frog.
I think that counts.
Which is funny because if you go down just a little octave, then you become Marvin the Martian.
If you go a little further, you're Jordan Peterson. All right. So, all right. Now, in our first story, Lucky doesn't begin to describe David Sirkin from Alberta, Canada. Not only did he beat cancer, he also won the lottery 3 times in the last 12 months.
Like literally.
Like literally won the lottery in the last 12 months. Okay, the retiree cashed in on a $500,000 prize in August, which he used to take his wife to Hawaii, which one does. He followed that up with a $1 million win only 3 months later. So, so he's like, okay, I'm not done. Let me keep going.
Well, he's got to pay off the medical.
You got to pay off the medical, exactly. And now, despite the odds of winning being 1 in 33 million, Sirkin has won yet again, taking home another $1 million prize from a different game.
Wow.
So he's just raking it in. Quote, I went for coffee with the boys after I checked my ticket. He said, they asked to see it and said, not again.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
That's nuts.
I took my wife to Hawaii this last win, and we had a great time. He smiled. Now we're going to Newfoundland.
Oh, okay.
Newfoundland isn't exactly a flex, but, you know, I'm happy for the guy.
Sure, yeah. I mean, but more importantly, he's alive to do it.
Absolutely. Tell me something good. This is one for the ladies. Just this year, the uncomfortable business of getting your pap smear has moved out of the doctor's office and to the home using a first-of-its-kind device approved by the FDA. So this is called the Teal Wand. The device allows women to collect a sample and send it off to Teal Health's laboratory to screen for the HPV virus. HPV accounts for almost all cases of cervical cancer, right, in America. Which, while falling gradually year over year for decades, is on the rise among rural and low-income populations because they don't often get to the doctor to do these things. So an at-home test is ideal for both of those groups and may help prevent some of the 4,000 deaths from the disease predicted to occur this year. So, quote, I think it's very exciting, Barbara Goff, a gynecological oncologist at Fred Hutch Cancer Center and the University of Washington School of Medicine in Seattle, told Science News. It expands cervical cancer screening to more women, which is good, and it makes screening more comfortable, which is also good.
Definitely. And I don't know the details of how all that works, and I really don't.
I don't want to know. I saw it. I was like, this is good news. It's uncomfortable, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
That's right. I just nodded politely.
Clap.
Yeah.
All right. Now, our last story here. A Spanish startup has successfully tested. Now, this is my wheelhouse. They've successfully tested a new thruster for spacecraft that runs on a green propellant to replace the expensive and ultra-toxic hydrazine commonly used in the industry. So, codenamed the Dark Propulsion System, its developers at Arcadia Space celebrated an in-orbit demonstration in early June using hydrogen peroxide as fuel.
Really?
So this is a really cool
the stuff
system.
You put on to like clean out your wounds.
Exactly. This the stuff that your mom tortured you with when you were a kid.
Because it made the little fizzy bubble stuff.
The fizzy bubbles,
Yeah.
but also it stung. So you're just like, hold on, honey, it's gonna sting for a second. Yes, all that stinging. Thrusters in space. All right, so satellites have just so you know, satellites have these little thrusters on them to help keep them in orbit and to make small positional adjustments as needed for their missions. So currently, hydrazine is the go-to fuel for this, costing around $75.80 per kilogram, and requires some of the highest level hazmat protections just to handle it. Hydrazine just destroys everything.
So this is different than like regular rocket fuel.
Yeah. This isn't just, regular rocket fuel like the ones that will boost you up. That's just like hydrogen and oxygen. They mix it real fast. Now the hydrazine though is for these smaller thrusters. Now the hydrogen peroxide being used in these new thrusters require little more than a pair of safety goggles, just in case you don't want to splash yourself.
Sure.
That's pretty much it. And as PPE goes, and it goes for $10.36 per kilogram as opposed to the $75 per kilogram of the other. So by bringing down satellite operational costs and satellite-based communications and services will become cheaper. You know what a satellite-based service is? Everything that we do. So at the consumer level, we're going to see a savings. Okay. Now, to help you plan to have a good week, Tuesday is National Root Beer Day. Wednesday is National Splurge Day. So you got to treat yourself.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Thursday is Juneteenth.
Yes.
Which
we definitely will be talking about that.
We're going to be talking about that extensively,
and I almost guarantee you we're gonna be the outliers in the conservative
space. And that's because Juneteenth is the most Republican of holidays ever, and we need to recapture it. I will explain that later. Friday is National Ice Cream Soda Day, which is pretty cool.
Shouldn't they do that on Root Beer Day?
You would think that would be on Root Beer Day, but I guess for Tuesday and Friday you can have root beer twice.
Yeah,
you just have to put ice cream in it the second time. And today is National Fudge Day.
Okay.
Yep. So that's it.
Okay, I'm gonna out. Let me tell you something. When we first started this radio station, do you remember this? You and I went over to eat at Union Station.
Yes,
and the restaurant there that's got like the fireballs and plays the music and the lighting and everything. Okay, so
oh no,
you know what I'm about to say, right?
Yeah, I remember
so
now.
Gabe and I are sitting there and we're eating at this restaurant, and it was outside because I think it was summertime.
Yeah. So
we're sitting there
on the little deck there,
right.
overlook. There's a pool and it has those jets like above a pool, and it looks really cool when they go.
Then they play a song, and then the fire bursts come
like
up and everything.
Synchronized.
And so Mr. Rocket Scientist here, we're sitting there and we're close enough you could actually feel the heat off of it.
Yeah.
And so the music starts and the fireballs start up there at Union Station. And then I'm like, whoa, you can really feel that. And Gabe goes, oh, that's this type of fuel. And he smelled it and knew what type of rocket fuel it was that they were using.
Well, it smelled a little bit like JP7, which is that's the jet engine fuel that they use for commercial flights.
You are the weirdest X-Men, Gabe. I'm just saying.
Yeah, my super sense is there. They only detect rocket related concepts.
But he did. I mean, right in the middle. He's like, "Oh, that's that type of jet." I'm like, what am I getting myself into?
Right, because it was early on. It was early on. We were new partners in this whole thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we knew each other from the other place, but I was like, what? Of course, I mean, it's not like I can go, "Oh no, it's not." Like I have any idea.
It's like,
so you could have been making all that up, and you would have had no way of knowing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I trust you though, Gabe.
Super nerd. He's like, that's basically what went through. And I saw it on his face. I looked at him after I said, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. That's the look. I know it well.
Okay, so splurge day. What do you splurge on?
Rocket fuel now, because
Rocket fuel.
it's gonna be like the Coke test. We're gonna figure out what the best smelling fuel is. We're gonna do a fuel test in the studio, and hopefully we don't pass out.
It did not smell good. That stuff was potent.
I might buy a robot. Maybe I should buy a robot.
Because it didn't say you had to splurge on food.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Splurge on anything.
I could do anything.
Scratch offs. I'm gonna win the lottery and then get skin cancer. That's I mean, I'm gonna lose all my money on scratch offs and then get the cancer.
There you go. That's how.
Well, that way you can afford it.
Oh my gosh.
See, I don't know what I would splurge on.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean,
would you get like high end baseball equipment?
I'm pretty, you know what? There are a couple things I wouldn't mind getting, but my equipment, I just bought my new catcher's gear for this season.
You're okay with it?
Yeah. So I've got a set of catcher's gear. Although, you know what? I went to my game on Saturday, which got rained out before we had an official game anyway, and realized that my mask is missing, my catcher's mask.
Oh no.
It fell out somewhere.
Oh geez.
So
that's no good.
I went over to the sporting goods store. I'm like, hey, I need this type of catcher, but they didn't carry it.
Oh no!
So I went on Amazon in the parking lot, paid for the overnight parking, and got it sent to me yesterday. So I'm all set for my games this week.
All right, that's good.
Yeah,
that's something.
But no, I mean, maybe a couple new baseball bats. Because you're a geek about jet fuel, I'm going to be a geek about the baseball stuff.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal. where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomas. After what is described as the biggest manhunt ever in Minnesota, 57-year-old Vance Boatler is in custody, wanted in the fatal shooting of a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, and the wounding of another lawmaker and his wife. Israel is now claiming control of the skies over Tehran and some other parts of Iran.
It's always difficult to verify claims like these made by any military, but if Israel has gained aerial superiority over Tehran, that essentially means that its fighter planes can operate at will without having to worry about Iranian air defenses. That could allow Israel to dramatically expand its operations. Its planes would be able to operate around the clock, and it could help them to hunt down even more Iranian military officials and other targets.
Correspondent Joseph Krause in Dubai. Iran fired more missiles at Israel overnight, about 100 in all, according to Tehran. An appeals court will be holding a hearing later in the week on President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles.
Late last week, a federal judge ruled that the president illegally deployed the National Guard to help with LA protests and said he must return control of the troops to California's governor. But the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals stepped in immediately and temporarily blocked that judge's order. The court said it would hold a hearing on the matter on Tuesday. The order applied only to the National Guard troops and not Marines who were also deployed to Los Angeles. Greg Clugston, the White House.
And the president is directing ICE to expand the deportation of illegal aliens in America's largest Democrat-controlled cities including New York, along with Los Angeles and Chicago. Watching Wall Street ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures are up 266 points. NASDAQ futures 177 points higher. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. I looked at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
At Progressive, we understand the bond you have with your boat. It's why people name theirs.
I named my boat Sure Don't. Get it? The other day when my friend said, hey, Larry, you want to head back in? It looks like it might rain. I said, sure don't. I guess they didn't get it because they didn't laugh.
Whatever you call your boat, protect it by insuring it with Progressive, America's #1 boat insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. #1 rating based on boat market share data from ratefilings.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Spotty showers and a few thunderstorms around the St. Louis metro area today, but steadier and heavier rain is more likely to the south. Humidity continues to hang fairly high today, up to 84 this afternoon. Light wind out of the south and southeast. Partly cloudy overnight, looking mainly dry, down to 71. Tuesday looks toasty. Partly cloudy with a high of 91, a muggy one. Storms likely Wednesday, and some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Irrigation systems are put through the stress test throughout our hot Heartland summers when temperatures skyrocket and rain is scarce. Tim Jones here for Hydrodynamics Core, which you should call today to make sure your irrigation system is running at peak performance. This is critical to ensure your lawn and foliage remain lush and lovely and that your grass and plants thrive instead of just barely survive. Schedule a monthly system checkup today with Hydrodynamics Core to make sure your irrigation system is working at its best. That's hydrodynamicscore.com, hydrodynamicscore.com.
Attention all gun enthusiasts, don't miss the big St. Louis County Gun Show, June 20th through 22nd at the STL Athletic Center in Fenton. Over 450 tables of pistols, handguns, rifles, log guns, shotguns, ammo, and more. The fun starts Friday, June 20th at 4, continues all weekend. Admission $14 and good for the entire weekend. Kids 12 and under get in free. With discounts for veterans, first responders, and anyone that mentions Aaron sent me. The big St. Louis County Gun Show, the weekend of June 20th. More info at bkpromotions.us.
Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Phifer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, were the No Kings protests around here peaceful and successful, or were they kind of a flop? I think a lot of people make up their mind on that answer based on their own politics of it, but let's talk about it a little more objectively here in just a couple of minutes. Yes. Also, does President Trump now support some illegal aliens? I said that right.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on which businesses hire them illegally. I've got the basic details for you here in just a minute. I want to follow up on this on 820. Okay, because this is kind of it hits you right in the gut thing, especially if you are if you are really, really a strong supporter of the MAGA movement and President Trump. You got to challenge yourself a little bit on this. And if you think, oh, no, he's okay on this, I really want to know why. I really do, truly. All right. Also, Cardinals falling behind in the race for the Central Division. They had a rough weekend. 8:06 right now. Let's dump some news on you.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Common Sense Rentals.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
All right. Downtown St. Louis was the site of one of the larger so-called No Kings protests over the weekend. Many protests were around the St. Louis metro area, and they were obviously against Donald Trump, including that large one protest and march downtown. Over 1,000 people participated in that one. And it appears that at least in the St. Louis area, all of the protests were peaceful, or at least nonviolent. No arrests, no issues were reported in our area. I could not find anything about even blocking streets other than the marching through them in downtown area, which the police allowed. But there was no violence. There was no cutting off main thoroughfares, nothing like that. There were violent incidents and at least one death related to the No Kings events in other parts of the country. But here in the St. Louis, it appears that people with whom I disagree on almost everything basically just simply exercised their First Amendment rights, had their protest, had their say, then went home. I got no issue with that.
Yeah, it was fine, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing is, now the other question is, does that mean that they were successful because they turned out some pretty big numbers at some of these? Or the question is, well, what did you actually accomplish?
Yeah,
but I asked that of all the rallies and demonstrations. What did you actually accomplish, whether I agree with you or not?
Well, we currently don't have a king.
That's true. I mean, so I guess, if correlation is causation,
yeah,
because in politics, that's what we've lowered ourselves to.
Yes.
The fact matters, they demanded no kings on Saturday. It's Monday. We don't have a king. Therefore, they must have won.
Well, and to be fair, Trump gave them a bit of a congratulations on their victory, because he said, look, I was worried I was going to be usurped by a king. Yeah, King was going to try to take my spot. What does this free soul say? It says, a huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place. But thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president, all caps. Great job, all.
That may be Donald Trump's best social media.
That's
post.
One of the best trolls I've ever seen.
I mean, if you're going to rank, if historians are going to rank his social media post, that may be the best one.
Chef's kiss on that one.
That was really well done. All right, let's get to some of the rougher stuff here. Police in Minnesota have arrested Vance Belter. He was arrested last night. He's charged in the case of the murders, the assassination of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. They were murdered at their home early Saturday morning. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz praising law enforcement agents for their handling of the arrest.
To take this suspect in with no life of life or injuries to civilian population and to bring him in alive so he can serve justice, which he will do in Minnesota, is an incredible thing that we are grateful for.
Okay, so Belter is also charged with the attempted murder of Minnesota Democratic State Senator John Kaufman and his wife, Yvette. Melissa Hortman, also a Democrat, is a former Speaker of the House of Minnesota. And of course, this was discussed by Republicans and Democrats on Fox News over the weekend. It was on Fox News Live. Senator Eric Schmidt had this to say about the entire tragedy.
Our founders set up the First Amendment to create this space where we would resolve our differences through debate, through elections, not through political assassination. So it's a very, very dangerous road to go down. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us, Republican and Democrat, to speak out against political violence, no matter if it's a Republican or Democrat that's targeted.
Okay, police say that the suspect, because he still is a suspect at this point, impersonated a police officer, even driving a fake police car in order to gain access to his victims.
Now, and here's the difference between the connection to the parties, the individual, the Democrats versus Republicans. Republicans have the high ground here because as best as I can tell, as best as I've heard, I haven't heard one of them say you need to make Democrats uncomfortable. You need to get in their face. You need to harass them in the street. You need to do this. I have never really heard a true call to action that could be interpreted by a crazy person as violence. Yet on the left, I've seen montages, going back basically a decade of Democrat lawmakers, not just random Democrats on Twitter, doing the that exact thing, calling to action. So even if, let's say this is some crazy right winger, he was not called to action by a right wing politician.
Yeah, and we're getting mixed reports. Everybody wants to say, well, here's the real story. We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
We've had reports that he's a MAGA Trump guy. We've had reports that he's a No Kings protester Antifa guy. We don't know, but we do know that it's pretty apparent that this was a political assassination.
Yes, he had political targets.
Yeah, and an attempted political assassination as well. So,
and we know that he's crazy.
And he's obviously a complete lunatic. So this is one of those times in our history we should probably step back and go, whoa, how did we get here?
Right.
And if the answer is one lunatic did lunatic things, okay, well, then we can deal with that. But we had a conversation with Tim Jones about this a little bit earlier. That's going to be up on our podcast in a couple hours to say, guys, let's all be part of a solution here. I'm not going to back down on what I believe, but we need to be extra careful that we are not intentionally or unintentionally dog whistling people who could actually act on stuff like this.
Absolutely. And look, if you have a mind to say, well, maybe he had a point, if you're that type of person, you don't belong with us.
Yeah, don't be that person.
Don't be that person. We've seen plenty of it on the left when it's like, well, maybe they had a point, or well, I don't condone the violence, but don't even start that sentence.
Don't do it. All right, is the president? I want to talk about this in more depth around 8:20 here, guys. Is the president selling out on the issue of illegal immigration, at least a little? President Trump is halting immigration arrests at farms, restaurants, and hotels. Here's the story.
Admitting that his administration's immigration crackdown is hurting farmers and the hospitality business, the president directed immigration officers to stop arresting some undocumented residents.
We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
He said many of those people are great workers, even though they're not citizens. It's a change of tone for the president, who has promised the largest deportation operation in American history. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Yeah, we can do that to our farmers.
Yeah, we
because
can.
They're breaking the law by hiring illegal aliens.
Exactly. That's the thing. And look, I think there should be penalties for businesses who knowingly hire illegals, right? So now, if you don't know, if they brought you fake papers, if the national whatever database that you're supposed to check didn't give you a proper response, which is a thing.
Oh, it absolutely is a thing. And it's actually illegal for you to not hire them because, you know what? I think you're illegal, but I got the documents.
That's illegal.
I have been in a position where I was handed new hire paperwork. I know it's full of crap,
right?
But the law did not allow me. This is before E-Verify. I'm like, I know this is crap, but the law did not allow me
because you can't
block it,
discriminate based on national origin,
exactly.
right?
You can't do that.
Yeah. So look, the businesses who are unknowingly hiring these illegals, that's one thing. And yes, you're taking away their workers. Yeah, that might hurt short term, but Hey, them's the breaks.
Let's day 20. Let's
and yeah,
go into
we'll get it.
Let's
into
go
that some more. I'm already off to the races.
I know.
Here. let's keep going with the new stuff.
Okay, so let's see here. And then I'm going to go about a minute over here, Jerome. Just let you know here. Okay, the city's board of aldermen are now considering, or the city's board is now considering, a bill that explicitly defines what the St. Louis City Sheriff's Office is expected to do and what it is not allowed to do. Now, keep in mind, every previous sheriff, in the city's history seems to have understood the duties of the job.
They get the assignment.
Yeah. Current Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery has expressed confusion over the expectations. Even while asking for more funding from the city, the board bill reiterates that the sheriff's office is responsible for serving court papers, protecting the 22nd Judicial Circuit, which means security there, and also the transport of the inmates and the suspects, and issuing concealed carry permits as required by law. The board bill also states that the sheriff's office is not allowed to make arrests, conduct searches, investigate crimes, or enforce criminal laws. And so they will now vote on that in a committee and then put in. So it would not change anything on the law, but it would say, fine, here's your job description, dude. We put it into law, even though everybody else has understood the assignment except you.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah,
right.
it's that whole story, this saga, because I think it counts as a saga at this point because it's lasted months.
Oh my goodness.
At this point, this is wild. Y'all elected this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you reap what you sow, I suppose.
Oh my goodness. All right. The Cardinals lost ground during their series with the Brewers over the weekend. Milwaukee took 3 of the 4 games, pushing the Redbirds back to 3rd place now. They are now 7 games behind the first place Cubs. They went into the series 5 games behind them. The Brewers, who are now in 2nd place, won Sunday's game 3-2. Cardinals are off today. They start a series against the White Sox in Chicago on Tuesday. And the UFL crowned the DC Defenders as the 2025 champions on Sunday. After getting through the Battlehawks last week, DC rolled over the Michigan Panthers at the Dome in St. Louis to win the championship. Final score 58-34. Former Battlehawks quarterback Jordan Ta'amu threw 4 touchdowns in the Defenders' win, and he earned the MVP award.
Get ready, St. Louis. The Cubs are coming to town. June 23rd through the 26th. The Cardinals host baseball's best rivalry at Busch Stadium in a series that always delivers. The Chicago STL rivalry is legendary, and the energy in the ballpark will be electric. It's the perfect way to spend a summer day or night at the ballpark with passionate fans and nonstop action. Don't miss out. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com/tickets.
Hey, this is Sonny Gray, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Hey parents, looking for something fun and unforgettable to do with the kids? Bring the whole family to a Cardinals game at Busch Stadium. From kid-friendly activities and giveaways to awesome promotions like Kids Run the Bases. Your little ones will have a blast, and so will you. Check out Family Sundays, presented by Smithfield, where select tickets include a free jumbo hot dog and soda. There's nothing like sharing the magic of Cardinals baseball together. Make your memories this summer at Busch Stadium. Tickets are available at cardinals.com.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
How do you find a roofing contractor you can trust? You could randomly pick one and cross your fingers. Or, here's a better idea. Choose Expert Group Contracting. We're proud to use America's most trusted roofing brand, Owens Corning. That means we've been screened for reliability, professionalism, and customer service. Residential or commercial roofing, licensed, insured, and offering free estimates. Why take chances on your roof? Visit expertgroupcontracting.com. That's expert with an X, groupcontracting.com.
Thanks for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Radio news junkie. Love every bit about it.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Okay. President Trump changing his tune on some illegal aliens. And here's my question, because I'm really kind of ticked about this. I'll be really honest.
Yeah, it's got me riled up.
Is he selling out on a key issue, or is saying some illegal aliens are okay? In his words, he says that's common sense. We played that story from our friends at SRN News, Town Hall News, at the top of the hour on this. So essentially, here's what's going down. While ICE is doubling down on arresting and deporting illegal aliens in big cities, particularly in blue states, because the president has ordered them to double down. Tom Homan, double down. You throw a fit, you riot, you attack our officer, we're going to double down. We're not backing down from you. Within the same 24 hours, the president orders that immigration officials and law enforcement stop detaining and deporting illegal aliens who are working in farms and hotels and places like that. And he says, well, we need those. Those are good workers, you know. And so on one hand, he's like, we're doubling down. We're going to go get the illegals here, but we're not going to go get them here.
Right.
And just for the sake of being intellectually honest, I did happen to notice that we're doubling down and going after the illegals in the blue areas, but he's saying it's okay. Let the businesses in the red states, which are primarily the agriculture states. So red states, you can keep your illegals. Blue states, we're going to go get them. I think that's a credibility issue. One of the things that he was elected to do was secure the border, which he's done, and address the illegal alien problem that we have here. And part of that problem is the way that that they are, frankly, not just a threat, but also the other burden that's creating. Do a lot of illegal aliens contribute to local economies? Yes.
Sure.
Economically, that can be shown. Do a lot of them leech off the economies?
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. But there's also the moral law and order question. We have a process, and we talked to Congressman Bob Onder about this, that's very, and I mean this in the actual sense, liberal, meaning very, very loose when it comes to seasonal, low-paid agriculture type of workers. There is a program in place that makes it very that comparatively easy to come in, pick the crops, and then go at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be illegal to do that and work for low wages.
Right.
We have a plan and process for that. So when the president says, well, you know, we're going to stop these raids, these are good workers, we need them. To me, that undermines the credibility of almost everything you're doing on the issue. When you're doing so much other stuff right, and you're doing it well, and we needed somebody with a backbone to take it on.
Yeah, this does not hit me well. Now I will say this: Jay Monty on Rumble has an interesting point. He said this goes into the speeding theory, which is worse: the person speeding recklessly and causing crashes, the speeder that is traveling 30 over, or the speedster driving 10 over.
Right.
So he's basically talking about the I guess I won't say staggered enforcement, but basically the prioritize enforcement.
Well, and that's what Mayor Karen Bass said last week. And you remember we talked about it, and we said, you know, because she said we were told you were just going to go get the murderers and the rapists and the gang members, and now you're raiding, you know, the manufacturing plant,
right?
You know, or the shoebox plant or whatever that you're doing. And even then at the time I said, I said in any other situation this would actually be a valid argument. Other than you're trying to specifically protect the illegal aliens.
Right.
And so this is an ideological battle. And so when the president says, we're going to go after those illegal aliens, but ours we're going to keep.
Yeah.
So you've got a two-tiered form of justice. And if they had said, listen, we're starting, and that's what Tom Homan said.
Yeah, he said, we're starting
with them. Now, I'm pretty sure they didn't get all the gangbangers yet. They didn't get all the murders. They didn't get all the rapists. And, if they said, we're doing this, but then we're coming for you, for everybody else, basically giving you time to get out on your own accord. But they've decided to, go, hey, here are a bunch of illegal aliens. We're going to go get them. And most, I would think of MAGA and those on the right go, yeah, that's what I voted for. Cause I saw that on social media over and over and over again. When you hear some leftists go, is this what you voted for? Showing the riots as though that's like something valuable. Is this what you voted for? Raiding a business to go get their workers. And a whole lot of people on our side were like,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
They're the ones who have attracted the illegal aliens. You're exploiting them under the table. You're not following the law. That's exactly what I voted for.
Yes, it's
for
called
a lot
law,
of people.
called Law and Order.
Yeah, and now the president goes, okay, but not for everybody. And
Yeah.
the reality is most of the agriculture is in the red states.
Mhm.
And so he's basically targeting, saying, we're going to go after the ones in the blue states, ones in the red states. You guys can keep benefiting from that. That just hits me wrong.
Yeah, I was looking into it, and so for the purposes of the census, for example, illegal immigrants are counted as part of the census.
Yes.
Which can affect the amount of representatives the seats that each state has in the United States House of Representatives, as well as federal aid. So it is. I mean, logistically speaking, or logically speaking, it is in the interest of a lot of the states with a high illegal population to want to fight to keep them. But that just shows you how little they care about legal citizens when
Yes.
they're more concerned about their own power and representation than they are of preserving a union.
It also counts towards the electoral college.
Right, the census.
The census, right?
I mean,
yeah.
if you got rid of, nobody knows for certain how many seats that blue states would lose. We don't know. I've seen stuff on the internet like California would lose 10 seats. We don't know that. Illinois would lose. We don't know that. I mean, we can take guesses, but we know they would lose some.
They would lose a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, if you added up all of the seats that blue states currently have, being the sanctuary cities, sanctuary states that they are, with lax enforcement of illegal aliens, they would absolutely lose a significant portion of their current apportionment of not only the seats in Congress, but also their electoral votes. So how much power they have, in picking the president. So the 2040 census is a big deal, and I think getting rid of every single illegal alien.
2030 census.
2030. That's right. Gosh, why am I skipping the 2040? 2030. Yes, which is, that's coming.
Yeah.
5 years to get rid of 30 million people. That's still a big pace you got to keep through multiple presidents. So that I think that needs to happen, and I'll say this in terms of priority and logistics and things like that. What you also have to remember is if let's say ICE is going after let's say a human trafficking ring in South Central, right? While they're there, you know what I mean? It's like these people trafficked the ring that they're breaking up full of illegals, trafficked illegals to work at a factory. They have all of the information about those illegals over at the factory now. It would be dumb not to get those guys too.
Yeah.
So it would be dumb not to get the ones that they sent over to the hotel chains over here on the north side. While you're doing the priority work of getting the criminal organizations in check, of getting the gangs in check, of dealing with all of those people, while you're dealing with all that, of course, you're going to come across all kinds. You're going to uncover all kinds of your quote unquote normal illegal aliens in the process. Get those guys too.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the things that irritates me the most about this is one of the things that Donald Trump up until now has been doing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And we absolutely needed, and probably it's a good thing this is happening in his second term, because he's got nothing to lose by holding his ground on this. And that's one of the things that he was very Trumpy in his approach and press comments and things like that. But I don't want to see any of this chipped away, because I think it undermines the whole thing.
Sure does.
Now that leads back to the quote unquote no kings, which is anti-Trump, whatever. But
sure, yeah, we can talk about that at 8:35.
Okay,
yeah,
but
yeah.
because do you think that that's a sign that these LA essentially riots that were going on actually may have influenced him to change his opinion on that?
If you're on the left, do you look at it that way? Do you say, "Hey, we
got a
fought
victory
back and he backed down at least on something. Go get more officers"? I mean, is that as much as I can try to place the word reasonable, is that a reasonable reaction if you're on the left and you support these riots, saying, well, this is for this cause? The fact that he has now said, well, some of them are okay. Do you make that connection?
Is that a win?
Is that a win for the left? That's a good question, Jerome. That's a good observation.
I think, honestly, if I were on the left, I'd take it as a win, because part of the rhetoric coming out of the left, and we saw this from the mayor, right? Karen Bass, she was saying, well, I thought you were just going to go after these people as opposed to just regular workers who are just trying to get by. All of the Democrats who were saying, well, who's going to pick our vegetables? If you want,
one of them actually said, who's going to wipe our backsides?
Who's going to
I mean, literally
Oh
said
my
that.
gosh.
A
Really?
Democrat actually said that about a week ago.
Oh my gosh, they haven't
She
changed.
said it more
They haven't
explicitly.
changed
No.
since the 1860s.
Yeah.
They haven't changed. They're still bad. We took away their slaves. So, yeah. So he's giving credence to that argument. It's like, well, we didn't mean those guys. We still need those guys to work under the table for $5 an hour.
I think MAGA meant all of them.
MAGA
I
absolutely
think
meant
that-
all
no,
of them.
I mean, I'm not really a MAGA guy, but those of you who are MAGA, did you mean all the illegal aliens?
Mhm.
You tell
Yep.
me. I mean, did you mean all of them or did you mean with exceptions? I think you meant all of them.
And oddly enough, this is going to present a sort of ideological test for you. Are you on board with the movement or are you on board with the man? Because the man's saying that the movement is adjusting a little bit.
Right.
Are you going to go with him or are you going to stick to your guns, call his office and tell him, hey, don't do that?
Right. Let me know what you think here. All right. The No Kings protest around St. Louis in particular, they behave themselves. I mean, honestly, there's not that much controversy to talk about. But was it successful for them? I don't really know the answer to that. Let's talk about that around 8:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself unless you suck.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Spotty showers and a few thunderstorms around the St. Louis metro area today, but steadier and heavier rain is more likely to the south. Humidity continues to hang fairly high today, up to 84 this afternoon. Light wind out of the south and southeast. Partly cloudy overnight, looking mainly dry, down to 71. Tuesday looks toasty. Partly cloudy with a high of 91, a muggy one. Storms likely Wednesday, and some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
Leftists took to the street to protest Donald Trump again. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Sponsored by AxeCap Ventures. America, listen up. Gold prices are breaking records. With inflation raging and central banks hoarding, every American should own gold. And like President Trump said, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. AxeCap Ventures owns one of Nevada's largest undeveloped gold deposits and trades for pennies on the dollar. This could be your way to ride the gold boom. AxeCap trades under GARLF on the OTC. Visit axecapventures.ca today.
Please spent your weekend with friends and family, celebrated Flag Day or the U.S. Army's birthday, but tens of thousands of leftists had nothing better to do than take to the streets to once again protest President Trump. They called it the No Kings protest, but it was hard to distinguish it from any of their other protests, BLM, LGBTQ, anti-ICE, pro-Hamas. They all look the same. But the narrative this time is authoritarianism. First it was Trump is a fascist, he's Hitler, he's weird, threat to democracy. Then it was oligarchy, now it's authoritarianism. President Trump is carrying out his campaign promise of mass deportations and also attempting to surge extra resources to poorly led cities and states who refuse to protect their own citizens. That's no threat to democracy. Plus, I don't think there's any greater threat to democracy than allowing millions of foreign nationals to invade a sovereign nation. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
Tired of floors that don't stand up to real life? Hometown Floors has the solution. With 40 years of experience, they know floors. 100% made in the USA. Luxury vinyl, laminate carpet, pet-friendly and built to last. Free in-home estimates, professional installation, and satisfaction guaranteed. Hometown Floors, making small business great again. Check us out at hometownfloorsonline.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
News, analysis, opinion.
Democrats will never win a national election again if they continue to protect criminals more than they do innocent Americans.
1019 and 94.1.
I worry for people of color.
News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Okay, a couple responses to that discussion we're just having regarding the President Trump's kind of changing his tune on some of the illegal alien stuff. PMS 3105 on Rumble says, agreed, but then you're cutting into the bottom line of farmers earning a living. The way the government has it set up doesn't allow the common farmer to thrive like construction companies. Lunch Lady says, PMS, I hear what you're saying, but I still don't care. People need to figure out how to do skilled labor. My son is skilled labor. The businesses need to start paying Americans. Businesses make money exploiting illegal aliens. I think she ran out of characters on that.
So I don't have the source with me, but when I was looking into the overall effects of illegal immigration that people don't tend to consider, yes, it's called the surge population, and they find that the more immigration, including illegal, but immigration in general increases, the actual real wages that citizens of the area make do not raise. They actually are lowered and they become stagnant. And I think that's where a lot of the sentiment comes from with this stuff is, yes, obviously we don't want to be these entitled baristas at Starbucks saying, you know, I need to be able to express myself and make 20 an hour to pour you some bean water. But there comes a point where if we have more money to spend, we spend that money, it circulates through the economy. I'm not saying to raise the wages per se, but I'm also not saying that it's going to be a bad thing if we get rid of the surge population, so we can actually negotiate with our employers and say, here's what we're willing to work with. They might raise their costs a little bit, but
a truly free market, people do better.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see people make more money. I want people to live more in more flourishing ways, which is why I'm a free market guy. That's why. And in order to do that, I think we should, and again, I am for legal immigration, because then you're just part of the free market on the same competitive level as everybody else. If you have lower skills, you demand more, you demand less money. You're just in less demand. But you know, we have a right to, and also immigration is a sovereignty and a security issue as well. And that's one of the problems that I think President Trump is undercutting his own message because he has rightfully been saying this is about security. This is about national security. This is about safety. This is about, and he's been 100% right about that. So how can he possibly say, well, some of these are okay, but the others are bad? I mean, if illegal immigration is a threat to our national security, it's a threat to the national security, not this guy as opposed to that guy. It is or it is not.
Now I might be willing to budge a little bit more towards this new direction if the exchange is we're going to be deporting these radical, crazy leftists that want to see the destruction of America. Because at the end of the day, I'm with you with the illegal immigration. Anybody that wants to come here and experience freedom and to have the same rights and responsibilities and contribute to our culture and our nation, that should be viewed positively. But if you're not going to deport the illegals at the farms and the hotels, get rid of the ones that are the crazy loony leftists then, you know?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of loony leftists, there were the protests over the weekend all around the country. Now, in some areas around the country, there was more violence. In Utah, a woman was shot to death.
Tragic.
And apparently she wasn't involved in she wasn't involved in the No Kings. And my understanding is she wasn't even involved in like a counterpress. She was just there.
Yeah.
Whatever this was in Utah. There were more riots in California. Notice that you didn't hear that a lot in the news over the weekend because the media wanted the No Kings thing to have the best coverage and impression possible. Something happened in Virginia where somebody drove their vehicle into one of these protests. I don't know the details, but there was violence in a variety of the parts of the country. Here in St. Louis, that was not the case. There were 12 No Kings protests, or at least events that kind of identified with that day. In the city of St. Louis downtown, they started marching through the streets, and then police kind of went along and blocked off streets to let them get by. I don't think they had a permit. On social media, the spokesman for the police was asked that many, many times. Do they have a permit to take over these streets? Do they have a permit for a parade? Do they have a permit for a demonstration? Do they have a permit? And he never answered that question, which tells me they probably didn't, and the police just enabled it. Now, first of all, this is Saturday afternoon. There's no Cardinals game. There's no concert that I know of. So there really wasn't anything going on. I think there was a soccer game, but which is in a different part of downtown. So nobody was downtown anyway. No harm was done by that. I hate the fact that we allowed anybody to stop other people from going where they needed to go. But okay, I get it, but I think ideally they would have said, stay at Keener Plaza. You don't get to do this, but the police didn't want the violence. They didn't want that. So they kind of enabled it and just took the path of least resistance. I get it. I'm not going to bitch too much about that. So other than that kind of philosophical difference, everything was nonviolent. Everything else was peaceful. The ones along Manchester stayed along the side of the roads. Nobody rushed in and blocked the traffic. So the left simply exercised their First Amendment rights. And you know what? I support their right to do that. I disagree with what they said, but they did it the right way.
Absolutely. And that is, quite literally what the First Amendment and the right to peaceful assembly is supposed to be about. Right. And I can guarantee, I'm not saying that I want people to be swayed towards their sort of lunacy, but if you want people to actually be more sympathetic towards allowing that, be open to the message that you're trying to provide, that's the way to do it. So credit where it's due. I still think that you're a knucklehead and you're probably need to stay off the mainstream media and the social media for a while and give your brain a rest. But at least at the very least, we can say that they were non-destructive.
Yeah.
They did. And even if there was nobody downtown, you could still be vandalized and stuff and,
right.
Being crazy. And so I don't like supporting people like that, but they did good.
But that's the thing, is I'm not really supporting them, but I try to call balls and strikes. The stuff they're arguing for, I think, is nonsense. I think that these are people who are clueless. But I would oppose anybody who tried to stop them from doing what they did this weekend, because they stayed peaceful, because they simply exercised I am more loyal to the First Amendment than I am to anybody's, ideology.
Bill of Rights absolutist.
Without question there. So in that case, the question then, okay, so they were peaceful. That's a fairly low bar to clear, but they cleared it. Congratulations. You didn't burn stuff down. Way to go. We appreciate that. Considering how many of your comrades around the country burned stuff down. Okay, so you didn't do that. Was it successful?
Well, do we really know what the actual intended purpose of the protest was, besides just to say, hey, we're all going to get together because in common, we just don't like the current president and we don't like you guys for voting for him and we don't like the fact that we lost. If you wanted to be generous, like you guys were saying before, we currently do not have a king in the United States. So great job reminding us of that.
That's right. Good job.
You could have also done that on the 4th of July. So, way to be preemptive about that, I guess. But I don't want to say it was, but at the same time, the statements about being more lenient on immigration now comes after. Again, part of the country was literally burning and, being violent about it. So it could be an appeasement tactic, but how do you succeed at something that nobody knows what you're trying to even do?
Yeah. What's your mission with the No Kings protest? Well, we hate Donald Trump. Well, we knew that before. We already knew you hate Donald Trump.
Oh, really? It's not like you haven't been saying that for the past 10 years.
So I guess when you have the big numbers, in downtown St. Louis, 1,000 people at a protest is a big number.
Yeah.
That's a newsworthy number without a doubt. I don't know what the sizes of the other ones were around the area. Some of them were small, some of them were bigger. And so I guess they're trying to show solidarity. Hey, look, we're here, we're leftist, get used to it or whatever, it's like, well, we know you're here, but if you're on the left and you were part of it, I am genuinely curious as to whether or not you think the event was successful. And if so, what made it successful? Send me a message on social media. You can email me, you can call me. I'm just curious because again, I'm not a big rally, demonstration, protest kind of guy because I don't know that they actually change any minds or change anything. It's like people who rally and have a protest outside of a courthouse based on a case inside the courthouse. What are you doing?
See, I'm almost the opposite. I don't support every single instance, but the idea of people from a community coming together in solidarity to express their rights, I appreciate that. But I think what they did accomplish, though, I think they definitively proved Donald Trump is not a fascist dictator or a king, because what kings and people like Mussolini and Hitler were all about is that they were totally in favor of protests and letting people criticize. Oh wait, no, they did the exact opposite of that.
They would have crushed these people. Donald Trump trolls them on social media, so he actually found a way to benefit from it with truly one of the funniest social media posts. I think it was on his Truth Social, but truly one of the funniest ones that he leaned into on that. All right. Got some thoughts on that. Let me know. 314-912-1019. Send me know on social media. How about this? Conspiracy theories.
Yes.
This is Jerome's lane here, man. Somebody asked, what are the most harmless conspiracy theories out there? And so I've got the list for you here. Well, I'll tell you what they are right around 8:49.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This will be the biggest ant rager of the summer. Let's party!
Wait, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888 to learn more about our special $67 offer.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did Donald Trump and Republicans make everything great again over the weekend? We'll discuss with Senator Jim Talent at 425. At 525, Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic and Ken. We're on every Monday through Friday on News Talk STL. Kenny, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, you got to be some kind of weirdo to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do radio.
You do, believe me.
And that weirdo is Mike Ferguson in the morning show on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh.
Okay, now that Father's Day is over, I wanted to just very quickly, before we talk about the harmless conspiracy theories, how about the after Father's Day dad jokes?
Oh.
Yes.
So lay them on me. You're the dad in the room.
Here we go. Here's a few of those. Oh, got me. All right, let's try them again here. Here we go.
And now, here are some after Father's Day dad jokes.
I saw a guy giving away dead batteries. They were free of charge. I used to work at a blanket factory, but then it folded.
All right.
With so many sporting events canceled, they're going to now show the World Origami Championship. It's on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view.
That was after Father's Day dad jokes. And we're sorry.
Okay, I just want to put that there.
Okay, the first one actually got a chuckle out
That
of me.
was kind of funny.
That was a good one.
All right. It was BuzzFeed in this case here. By the way, 8:50 right now. Got Jerome here on mic. Somebody asked the question, all right, what are the harmless conspiracy theories? Not the stuff that's like, the secret cabals running the world and, all the stuff that people really get worked over. We're not talking like, what are the ones everyday life that like, what's really behind all that? And they came up with a list of 10 harmless conspiracy theories that at least some people think are actually true.
Ooh.
Yes. Can you think of any harmless conspiracy theories like, what, if you only knew?
Well, I'm surprised it's not more common knowledge by now, but for those that don't know, the lottery was invented to catch time travelers. I'm convinced of that. I found the math.
Explain this. How that? Because by the way, that's number 7 on the list.
Okay, so I did not know that.
It's number 7 on the list. Yeah,
they're watching me.
There you go.
So if you think about what most people would do whenever they ask like a fortune teller or a psychic, or if they had a time machine, there's a whole handful of things, but consistently everybody wants to know what the winning lottery ticket is for like the big mega millions are. So naturally, if you had multiple people that figured out time travel, then they would all go back to the same date, right? To go and cash in that ticket. As we know, on multiple occasions, there have been multiple people that all picked the same winning lottery tickets and had to split the money. So the government has a way of catching you if you're messing around with time travel and trying to break the laws of physics, and it is the lottery. You think you're getting a big check, and instead you now have to go do math in the Pentagon or something.
See, this kind of goes back to, you remember that scene? Have you ever seen Back to the Future?
Yes.
Okay. So there's that scene where, is it Biff, I think, goes back, finds a way to go back in time and to tell younger Biff, go bet on these games. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to make it, that sort of thing. So kind of along the similar.
Now here's where the real kicker comes in, is that there's also a real lottery. They figure out which numbers the time travelers are using, and that's how they catch you. But then they release a separate alternative set for the general public to provide cover. That and the moon landing was faked on Mars.
Okay, so actually, I think somebody just mentioned that on Rumble. Yeah, corporeal being. The moon landing was faked, and the Earth is flat.
It's a snow globe shape. It's not flat.
Oh,
it's only half round.
Got it. Okay, I got to keep up with these. Okay, so according to BuzzFeed, apparently there are people who say, you know what? It wasn't the camera's fault that the picture is fuzzy. Bigfoot's just blurry.
Yes, I've heard that one.
That's right. I think that was a Mitch Hedren comedy.
Yeah,
line.
Mitch Hedberg. Yeah,
Hedberg. Yeah, I think that was a Mitch Hedberg joke at some point. Number 9 on the list: Trader Joe's makes their parking lots small on purpose to make them seem more popular than they really are.
Oh,
see, but to me that's illogical because if you have smaller, small parking lots, not parking spaces. So yeah, small parking. Yeah. Okay. I guess I get it. Because if you had, I was thinking if you had small spaces, then you'd have more spots, then it would look more empty. But if you have bigger spaces, so if they have small parking lots, that's what they're thinking. Okay. Let me see here. That's number 9. Number 8, harmless conspiracy theories. PETA is controlled opposition run by the meat industry, designed to make animal rights activists look bad.
Yes, I can definitely believe that.
Have you ever met some of these animal rights activists in real life, though? They make themselves look pretty bad. As
somebody that actually cares about the well-being of animals and does work with them, PETA is the absolute worst group you could possibly.
100%. Let's see here. The number 7, lotteries are actually traps for time travelers. We covered that one here. Number 6, the reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you Googled Disney Frozen, you would get information about the movie and not about websites talking about Walt Disney's body being cryogenically frozen, which I think he actually is. I think his remains are actually cryogenically frozen.
Well, why don't you Google Disney Frozen and see what you can find?
Yeah, because I think isn't he one of those who like believe that we someday will come up with the technology to bring people back to life?
I'm going to be honest. I was not a Disney kid.
Yeah,
I do not know, but that would be interesting if anybody's going to do it.
Okay, so I looked it up here, and here's what it's telling me. The rumor that Walt Disney's body was cryogenically frozen after his death is a popular urban legend, but it is not true. He was cremated, according to what the internet wants you to believe.
Ooh.
Just saying, but okay, because I'd heard that over and over and over again. Let's see here. What do we have? That big bread companies, because we've got to watch out for big bread.
Oh, yeah.
They paid toaster manufacturers to put in settings that are too high so people would burn their toast and they'd sell more bread.
Those darn little W's.
Man, I tell you.
I knew Wonder Bread was up to no good.
That would be brilliant, though.
that
would be a brilliant conspiracy.
I'm
telling you. All right. Here's number 4 here. Okay, I could believe this. That police go on Waze, W-A-Z-E, the app, and leave notes about random police sightings just to get people to slow down without actually having to go out and check on as many people. I could believe that.
So I've heard, not specifically on that app, I have used that one, but with Google Maps, it's the same kind of idea. Is that they will intentionally post where their speed traps are, and with the idea that a speed trap's coming up, so you slow down and drive, more carefully. But then they can use that. If you are so familiar with the area that you don't use a GPS, you still won't know it's there, so they can still catch you.
Yeah. See, I've like when I drove to Florida the last time, I just had my maps up to get there, and it would alert me when there was, police radar in the area. But basically every time that happened, there was a police officer there. I actually saw it. So it was correct. Let's see here. That your phone's microphone is constantly hot and is listening for keywords to target advertising.
That's true.
I am 100% convinced that is true.
That's just true.
They deny it, but I completely, because of time after time after time after time experience, I believe that's true. The number one harmless conspiracy theory: Starbucks baristas are told to misspell customers' names just to get people to post photos on social media of their Starbucks cup, providing free advertising.
That would actually be a really good guerrilla marketing campaign.
Or they could be just hiring people who are semi-literate at best.